Well, hello everybody, and welcome to the 209th edition of the Boxing Asylum Nuthouse podcast. I'm your host, Steve Wellings, and joining me this evening, we have Adam Smido-Smith, Dave the Hater Lowback, Andy Patterson, Kurt Ward, and the guru himself, Tommy Allen, is on the call with us. Right, without further ado, the guys were there harassing me and haranguing me before the pod, saying, let's start with Lara against Foreman. You know, it was such a good fight, but I'm not going to do that, guys. I'm gonna leave that gem until after we've been over to the Barclays Center, Brooklyn, New York. The scene of Frampton Santa Cruz. It was the scene of DeGale against Badou Jack last night. Really good fight. Really enjoyed this one. It ended up as a majority draw. I've got the scores in front of me. Glenn Feldman actually went for James DeGale by scores of 114 to 112, but he was overruled by Julie Lederman and Steve Weisfeld, who came in at 113 apiece. So they go home with their respective titles, WBC and of the IBF variety. Like I said, Andy, I really enjoyed this one. DeGale dropped Jack in the first round, then Jack dropped DeGale in the last round, and in between it was nip and tuck. I thought myself, a couple of the guys were saying, how did you score it? I didn't actually score it. I just sat there and tried to enjoy it. I thought Jack had done enough, just about. I thought he was doing a lot of good body work in the middle rounds. But then, as I was saying on the Twitter chat, I'm an unreliable witness because I wanted Jack to win, because I picked him to win. So I'm going to leave it over to you. What did you think? Your overriding feelings at the end of the bell. Who did you think had done enough?
I thought Jack won it, mate. I had it 114, 112. But it was nip and tuck early doors. I thought DeGale nicked the first two. I gave Jack the third, and I think I gave DeGale the fourth. And then from there to about the ninth, I gave everything to Jack. I just thought in the middle part of that fight, he was far stronger. The punches that DeGale were throwing were kind of pity-patty slap shots. You could see Jack was basically kind of trying to wave him in. Says, "Come on, there's nothing to your punches." Um, you know, the left hook, especially to the body, it was particularly brutal. As I say, I think DeGale, I don't know what happened with the tooth or whatever. I know he had a tooth missing before the fight, but he's lost another one during it. I don't know if that's been maybe mentally affecting him or whatever in the middle part of that fight, because I think it was 6th round or something. He lost the tooth. But, he done well. He took a bit of a licking sometimes, DeGale, actually, but you got to give him a lot of credit. He actually stood in there and he did try to fight back. Whenever he went to the ropes, I did think that's where he was really vulnerable, actually. So you could see it kind of as the fight kind of wore on. When he went to the ropes, he kind of then tried to kind of push himself off it pretty quick because he knew he couldn't hang about there for too long. The knockdown in the 12th, I think, just basically sealed the deal for Jack. So 114, 112 on my scorecard. I've no problem with a rematch or whatever, but as I say, I think the way it's sounding is Jack's definitely going to move up in weight. People that are complaining about it or whatever, you got to think as well as he didn't want to have an accident in the ring. If the guy's struggling with the weight, you got to let him kind of go up for his own safety or whatever. But good fight, great start to the year. It was a good card all round, actually, I must admit. Really enjoyed it. So hopefully it's a sign of things to come. I've got a couple of good fights coming up in the next couple of weeks as well. So well, obviously no next week, got nothing at all, but it's certainly looking good and really good fight.
It's a good card all round, said Andy. One man who was actually at the show itself, Dave the Hater Lowback. He's on a train back from Brooklyn as we speak. He's called in as usual, the ultimate professional. Dave, from your vantage point, no doubt sitting at VIP ringside, the most expensive tickets you could find. What did you see going down at the show as a whole and the main event? Good stuff?
Oh, it was great. It was a great night. Overall, a very solid card. Even the girl fight was pretty good by girl boxing standards. I thought that I thought there was no way that this decision could go any way but Jack from ringside. I thought, wow, this guy, he's dominated this fight. This is about 116, 110. I could have given maybe a round more to DeGale, maybe the 10th, but I thought it was pretty clear who was landing the clean punches and who was landing on gloves. And just as Emmanuel Stewart always used to say, the fight it's going exactly the way I expected it to go. And that was basically what I was thinking the whole fight. Because this was what me and several others talked about last week. It's we thought that contest between Jack's steady, effective, responsible, focused pressure against DeGale's flashier, explosive bursts, because he fights in bursts. And that's exactly how it went. We all predicted it to go close. It was a great fight. I love the knockout early and the knockout late. Bookendation, sort of putting a staple on what I thought was Jack's domination. So I thought the decision was bad, and for a change, I agreed with Floyd Mayweather. He was right on the money, I think, when he said it was bad for boxing. Although I don't think it would have been nice if he was a little bit more positive about the fight itself, especially since he was a promoter. I mean, it's bad for his own business if he starts trashing the card he just put on. And I thought it was a good card. He was ringside, dancing around and shadow boxing, yelling advice to Jack and to Gervonta Davis most of the night. It's interesting. This is the first time I've been to several live events before, but this is the first time that I've been in a fight where that whole TV versus the ringside view and the difference to me. Like everyone always says, it's a different fight when you're there, and some people have used that to explain Dan Rafael's horrible scorecards. But and Andy had Ricky Burns a point up against Gonzalez. Yeah, I can see. I mean, so many of those shots DeGale was throwing, those rallies, they were just being picked right off by Jack's gloves, and I can't give him credit for that. I mean, and the body work, I think the judges, they just don't. That's something we were saying last week. Jack is a guy who does everything pretty well, nothing really great. Well, the body work is great. I mean, that's like old school boxing, and that's something that I think is somewhat lost and unrespected in the game today, and that includes by the judges. So I would say 8-4, Jack felt about right for that fight. Good one, though. And it sounds like he won't be getting a rematch because he's going to light heavyweight, but still, it was a double night.
Dave, I want to stick to the main event, obviously, but just very briefly, is there anything you want to say about the undercard, just in case we lose you or you get beaten up by a hobo or something on that train? What was the undercard like?
It was solid. There was one guy that Brooke inexplicably, he was a big home, can't remember his first name, Sosa, and he got a gift decision over a 2-2 MMA fighter. So that shows where his level's at. He's not going anywhere. Delorme fought on it against an opponent who pretty much a pointless fight. Delorme fought inside because he had no respect for what Jones could give back to him. I think Marcani was the ref for that fight and stopped it early for my liking. But, I mean, he was winning every round anyway. The Amanda Serrano, Rivas, actually, they landed. I think they should, I don't know if women wear gloves than the men, the non-punchers gloves, but it just seems that way. They shaking, really. And conversely, at MMA, with those lady knockouts. So I would.
Yeah, sorry, I think the sound's starting to go a bit, Dave. We'll try and catch you whenever you got a bit of a better signal. I'll bring in Adam Smith at this point. Thanks for trying anyway, Dave. We appreciate you jumping on. Smido, listen to me. Let's talk about James DeGale. I was impressed by his grit and his resolve and his resilience, but there's a message coming on the Facebook page from our friend Dipo Osho. And he says that DeGale is someone who could benefit from a little bit of media training. His crackhead, toothless ranting last night was really something to behold. He truly is a massive bellend. What was he saying afterwards? I haven't actually heard the post-fight interview. Was he going off on one?
Well, I saw the American one. I didn't see the Sky one with him. Obviously, they both felt that they won, but I think DeGale was being a bit more respectful than Jack. He was being a bit touchy-feely for my liking, DeGale, to be honest. But no, he did stumble on his words a couple of times. But I think that, we've seen it's a big transformation, really. DeGale, since he's lost to Groves, got lost in the wilderness of Channel 5 and Mick Hennessy, and he was, his public image was crap. And then, he's come back round again a little bit. And I must say that last week, and even yesterday, someone had a copy of the Times. He was on the back page of that. He was on the back page of another paper on Friday. So, it really has... It was on the back page of the Racing Post, for example. So, he has been getting some support. It was just heat of the moment stuff last night, to be fair. I think he was obviously annoyed he didn't win, as was Jack. And then I think DeGale got annoyed when Mayweather started chatting rubbish about trying to get away from the rematch. So yeah, you know, he's maybe slipped up a little bit there, but it has been a big transformation for him, and I think he had people on side more than ever this week. For the fight, I thought it went pretty much to as a lot of people would have expected, and quite easy to predict. You know, DeGale getting off to a fast start, probably even better than what most expected. And then, you know, gassing between rounds, you know, 7, 8, 9, 10 maybe, and then having to rally late. We've seen that against Darrell before, and, you know, we've seen DeGale do that quite a few times. So, I mean, this time last week, I said I thought DeGale was struggling at the weight, but as I think Andy will agree, we've seen DeGale this week, all week, and at the weigh-in, and I thought that's the best I've ever seen in pre-fight, to be fair. And that's what, and I know I made a statement last week along the lines I was going to back Jack KO for the reasoning of DeGale gassing. He gassed anyway, so regardless of how he looked at the weight, but that put me off. That put me off having a bet, and it's a good job that for the first time in a while I didn't get up to watch it, because I'd have lost a bunch of money back in Jack KO him running. So I was quite happy to watch it this morning. But like I say, it was kind of quite easy to predict how the fight was going to go, as I think Dave said. You know, Emmanuel Stewart kind of thing. I think it was the 8th round. It might have been the 7th. Sorry if I got that wrong. But I think the 8th round, I was close to. I didn't score it round by round, but that was very close in my mind to be being the 10-8. That 8th round, Jack was really pouring it on.
Yeah, definitely.
The last 20 seconds, I think DeGale, you know, saved that from being a 10-8 round, and that could have been a bit of, you know, a big difference really in the end. But we tend to use the Brits tend to use heart and bravery, you know, all too much. Basically means that they're going in there and getting battered by when they're vastly outgunned by an American opponent. But last night, really, DeGale went above and beyond. I thought it was a tremendous effort from James DeGale. I really did. You know, he was knackered because he got hurt badly in, I think, the 8th, which I could have been a 10-8, and then to me actually won the 9th, which I thought was quite remarkable. You know, when I thought Jack was going to really pile it on, DeGale came back and you know, in my eyes, you know, I wasn't scoring it round by round, you know, properly, but he got the better of the 9th, and then, you know, 10th and 11th he had to really dig in, and then he went even further in the 12th. I mean, Aris have managed to survive that 12th. I mean, is beyond me, to be fair. I think it was knocked down within the first 45 seconds of the round, and he turned it round so much so that in the last 10 seconds, if you just watch the last 10 seconds of that fight only, DeGale was on top. It was a brilliant ending to the fight, I thought. Obviously, it was an exhaustion knockdown, you know, compared to. I thought Jack's knockdown, the knockdown of Jack in the first was a little bit flashy, as Jack said in the post-fight interview. But, you know, you've got to give credit to DeGale. You know, it was a good punch that, you know, really shook Jack up, to be fair. But I mean, to stay upright at the end of the last round for DeGale, I thought was a cracking effort. Couple of things I noted. No one really, for me, established the jab, you know, to control the fight. I thought DeGale's footwork was decent, and he was bamboozling Jack a little bit. He was switch hitting, you know, he was in both stances, you know, changing it up throughout the fight. There was a lot more working close from both than I expected, and I enjoyed that. And as Andy mentioned, I think Jack worked the body quite well, and that was good to see, you know, throughout the fight. But ultimately, if you're a Jack fan, which none of us are, obviously not being American, I think if you're a Jack fan, you've ultimately got to be disappointed with that. DeGale was there for the taking in the second half of that fight without any question. And if you're a Jack fan or a Jack promoter, you've got to be disappointed that he didn't really put his foot down and get the job done. To be honest, that, you know, DeGale was definitely there for the taking. And it didn't look too visibly gassed, Jack, and he wasn't even, as obviously nowhere near as facially damaged as DeGale, but he didn't look too visually gassed, but he was almost, you know, fighting with at the back of his head, thinking, you know, maybe he is struggling at the weight, and, you know, he couldn't really put his foot down. So you'd have to be disappointed as a Jack fan. I thought it was a brilliant fight. Unfortunately, we're not going to see the rematch, but it makes it interesting for DeGale going forward. It was a cracking fight.
Jack's done the same in previous fights.
You're breaking up, Dave, a wee bit, mate.
Thanks, you go. I'm sorry.
You're breaking up a wee bit, mate. I was just going to ask, you know, see how Mayweather was going about how it was a robbery, and he started listing off like the De La Hoya scorecards and the Canelo scorecards and that. You think it was a robbery?
What's that?
Anyone?
No. No chance.
They never robbery. It can't be.
That's
a close fight.
It's a fight, wasn't it?
Yeah. It seems like every time now we get a good close fight, that people are calling robbery. I mean, even if it had been a unanimous decision to 1 round to DeGale, it's not a robbery. It might be, you might be disgruntled by it. You might think it's a wrong decision. It's not a robbery. That didn't have the ingredients to be a robbery at all.
Yeah, Tommy, talk to me about the styles here, because just before we're about to come on air, Ben Churchard made a comment. I don't know what you think about this one. He said it was slicker stuff from DeGale last night, and he is an American-friendly fighter. That's why the judges had him up prior to the knockdown. Do you think that that's a fair enough statement? DeGale's style was maybe pleasing to the judges?
Well, yeah, he does kind of fight like the American style for the American fighters using that, but he's got guts as well, and he comes forward. And I've always thought that the Americans really liked a more aggressive style than that, but I was impressed with both guys last night. I remember a tweet from Andy Lee yesterday actually saying that he sparred Badou Jack before he turned pro. He done really well against a southpaw, and with the looks of that fight last night, I thought DeGale was going to win that fight well, but I was really impressed with Badou Jack last night, and I can see where Andy Lee was coming from, because he's been a good amateur. He's obviously faced a lot of southpaws, and he done really, really well against DeGale last night. It was typical DeGale, wasn't it? He started off really well, got the knockdown early. He just doesn't trust his stamina. He's probably one of the hardest trainers in the game. I know his trainer Jim McDonald was a ferocious trainer back in the day, and he obviously trained James the same way. But he just doesn't trust his stamina in the middle rounds, and he switches off. And we've seen it nearly cost him before, and it did cost him last night. He could have won that fight. I thought when they were actually fighting and engaging, James looked the stronger and the powerful guy. When he wasn't doing nothing, obviously Jack was fiddling away. He was landing his single shots, landing his jab, throwing his straight right hand upstairs into the body, and he was just racking up points in that in the middle rounds. And obviously, again late, James came on strong again late, barring the knockdown at the end. But it was a close fight. I scored at 1-1-3, 1-1-3. I thought a draw was a fair result. I've no problem with anybody scoring it either way. I wouldn't mind seeing the rematch now, but I don't think it's going to happen. I think he's going to move up, Badou Jack, and the super middleweight division is going to be left in fucking a bit of a mess, isn't it?
I said that last week, mate. I was just going to say
he is a big super middleweight. He is a big super middleweight, isn't he?
Aye, but as I said last week, I think that fight last night is probably like the last fight of right significance. I think at that weight, because I was looking at the ratings earlier on. Actually, if you look at it, you got Zoiga just went in there. You got Abraham still looming around the number 8. You got Groves. So basically, it's kind of thinning out a wee bit as well. Callum Smith, I suppose, as well. I mean, the best thing for Smith, actually, he has got to be rubbing himself hard, like when he finds out that Jack's going to go up and wait, because Tisco Joe loves a vacant title. He loves a vacant title fight, baby.
Definitely. I'm just looking at the WBC rankings just now, actually, and it's probably going to be, if it does become vacant, it's going to be Anthony Darrell that Callum Smith faces. That's not a gimme, that is it, for him,
no, definitely not. I mean, especially when you think about who he's fought and what Darrell's actually faced. Just think as well, see if you look at that first knockdown actually in the first round, if you've seen the slow motion replay, you actually see that DeGale actually stepped on his foot at the same time he landed the shot, so I think the balance probably just went off him there, so it wasn't really, because he got up, it wasn't even hurt when he got back up anyway, because
so when the first landed, actually right on him until he got up, and he actually did look steady when he got up. I just thought deja vu back to the Edwards fight when he obviously blew away in the first round. I was going to bet on him yesterday. I was going to bet on DeGale at 16-1. I never bothered. I just bet on Jack. I bet on DeGale, and I just bet on the draw. That was only 3 bets I made.
But we need to discuss Betgate. That's brilliant. That's a thing of beauty.
That's a good laugh today.
Oh shit!
As I say, I think Badou's going to move up, and it's going to leave Callum Smith against Anthony Darrell, which is a good fight. We're going to see obviously a lot of fights in Britain. We're going to have obviously still got DeGale. Groves should really beat Chudinov, and we're going to have Callum Smith. So there's a good wee triangle there where Eddie Hearn can exploit some fucking big pay-per-view numbers for the casual.
Groves and Chudinov ain't even signed yet, is it? That was worrying me a little bit.
Well, it's looking like it's one that it's. It looks like that's the fight that's going to be made, isn't it?
Should be, but it's gone a little bit quiet.
I just wonder then if DeGale maybe even get his mandatory fight next time, because I know that guy was meant to fight before. Is it Ustage?
Ustage or something?
Aye, I think he's meant to fight him because before I think the fight got called off. I think one of the guys got ill or something like that. I don't know, I can't remember, but you probably need to fight that guy next.
I wouldn't mind actually.
Right, guys,
See if Badou Jack moves up, I wouldn't actually see them going right in a unification with Gilberto Ramirez.
Bob Arum, though, innit?
I know, but I think that fight could be made.
Who are you talking about, Tommy?
The WBO champion Ramirez. If Badou Jack moves up, I wouldn't mind seeing like DeGale just going and getting the fight with Gilberto Ramirez. I know it's a hard. It's obviously
Ramirez is 168, is he no?
Yeah, he's 168. No, I mean James DeGale getting the unification fight.
DeGale to fight
Ramirez,
right?
Oh, right.
Ramirez, yeah.
Okay.
So.
Let me get Kurt Ward in here. Kurt, at the end of the second round, I noticed Arthur McCanty was getting in a bit close. I was saying this before we came on air, and Badou Jack threw a shot and just missed him. And I thought to myself, it'd be interesting if McCanty gets tucked in a little bit more. He could end up getting whacked here right enough at the end of the fifth round. He took a pretty heavy shot, but he showed he's got a good chin, McCanty. He took it well anyway.
Well, as I said on Twitter, Amir Khan is jealous of that chin, isn't he? I mean, he was able to take it. He stumbled, but he was still standing. I mean, Khan would have been laid clean out. But
be honest, Kurt, though, man. Be honest, mate. I mean, he's actually shot McCanty because in the past, remember, he actually did the Matrix and fucking avoided a left hook once before. Reactions are gone, mate. He's shot to shit.
Father Time is undefeated. We all know that. No, I mean, on the whole card, I very rarely stay up for the boxing, but I did last night, and I just think this had everything. Great card, a great main event. You had, the ref getting punched, and Eddie Hearn getting pied off at the end by Jim Gray. I mean, it all added into just a fantastic entertainment for me. I mean,
Eddie Hearn got pied.
I had Jack winning the fight, but I said after about 3 rounds on Twitter that this can be one of those fights where people are crying robbery, and I think Jack deserved to win the fight in the end, but DeGale did really well early and then kind of did what he usually does when he starts fading. But he came on strong in a couple of rounds. I think it was 9 and 10th or 10th or 11th, and I think he took them 2 rounds. And for me, it was close to Jack, but I got no problem with it was good to see the judges scoring the fight, correctly, I think. It was a bit of a shame that none of them gave Jack a win on the cards, but they all had it, close. There was no stupid wide cards. It's just funny that officially Badou Jack hasn't won a fight since he beat George Groves. His last 2 fights have been draws, and 5 of the 6 judges in those 2 fights haven't had him winning the fight. Only one of the judges had him winning against Butte, and obviously none of the judges last night had him winning. So he's been unlucky, obviously, and I think it'd be a shame if we don't see a rematch. But before the fight, he was saying he's moving up. I think a lot of fighters use them excuses because they want, more money. They'll say, well, I'm struggling to make weight, but give me more money. I think with him, it's genuine. He said beforehand, basically, that this is my last fight and he wants to move up. He's struggling to make the weight. And as fans, we want to see it. But moving up, there's some good fights that legitimately can be made. I mean, Adonis Stevenson, that fight can be made. Even Beterbiev can be made. So let's hope he does get those fights because he is someone who he's really improved. When Donnie mentioned him, as one of these ones to watch, or I didn't think much of him, to be honest. Then he got knocked out, but he has really improved. He's not spectacular, but he's steady in the basics. He does them well. He's a big unit at the weight. He's obviously got a good fitness, and he's very strong. And I think, as Al Bernstein said on Showtime yesterday, his defense has improved so much. With DeGale, he was catching, doing a lot of flurries and looking really good, but hardly any of them were landing. It was Jack who would counter and land the big punches, and he was the one who looked the harder puncher to me. And I think at 175 against someone like Stevenson, that would be a good fight. And for me though, Jack won that fight, and he's number 1 in that division for me.
I thought it was a robbery.
A robbery, as strong as that, Dave. It was a close fight, was it not?
I didn't think it was that close. I thought it was competitive. That close. I just don't swear. Jack.
Dave, I fucking hope your train crashes tonight, mate. Honestly, because I'm fucking sick of this shite for you. Honestly, every fucking week you've got to listen to it, man. For fuck's sake, man.
He's a hater.
Oh, Jesus Christ.
Oh, thanks for listening, Tommy. I'm glad you're listening.
Honestly, man, I hope there's a lone wolf on that train with a bag of explosives. I swear to God.
You're the one who's moaning here. I'm just saying I thought it was wrong. I mean, me and Lope Place are the only 2 that saw how that fight really went down, I think. And Digga.
I thought it was close.
Close competitive fight. This wasn't a robbery. I mean, fucking, there's cunts going about saying that Frampton Santa Cruz was a fucking robbery, for fuck's sake. Or Frampton had the judges paid off, that sort of shit.
No, that wasn't. This was different than that.
I tell you what, man, I wish Twitter was around when Sweet Pea got robbed in France against Ramirez, by the way. Fucking Twitter would have had a fucking 10 new servers to handle all the shit that was coming in.
Andy, listen to this. I'm going to direct this one at you or anybody else who wants to. Liam Wynn asked a question on the Facebook page, and you probably have the same answer as me. He said, can you explain to the listeners why a majority draw is a majority draw? Why doesn't the third scorecard weigh the decision 2-1, as they both have one each with the draw? But I think, it's a case of one person had DeGale winning, but two people didn't, even though they didn't have a winner. So it's weighted in favour of the majority decision, obviously, because...
Yeah, but it's because you've got three guys. Obviously, you need a majority to kind of get over the line.
Yeah.
I've seen some folk mention the fights getting dropped from 15 rounds to 12 rounds, and that's so you've got to kind of you drop an odd to an even number. Basically, I don't know if they should bring in a 13th round. I really don't know if. I really don't know.
15 rounds. Let's go back to 15 rounds.
Do you think there should be some kind of count back or anything, guys, or something else implemented to try and avoid this, or is it just part of the game? A draw's a draw.
Well, I really don't know what the best suggestion is. I mean, you didn't want to go to count back. I mean, fucking 12 rounds of punches. Jesus Christ! Imagine going back to count back the punches of Salido against Vargas fucking last year.
I've said it before. I like a half point system for if it's a close round. If somebody wins a round wide, they get a point for it. If somebody wins around close, they get a point for it. There should be somewhere in the middle. There should be a half point or something. If somebody wins around clear, they get the point for it.
Used to have half points back in the day.
Used to have half points.
Back in the British title fights, he used to have it, didn't
they? Yeah. Harry Gibb and wasn't it?
I don't like it. It's too much math.
Yeah. Too much math.
Just talking about scoring, Carl Froch again scoring drawed rounds, 2 of them this time round.
Oh man, that's you can't score. I mean, if it's absolutely, if you have no choice, man, you got to score at 10-9 or 10-8 or whatever it is.
No, I don't think
you've got to find a winner each round.
Even round. Yeah, I agree, and he just does it all the time.
What about scope, Smido, for wider scores? Like we should be more inclined to give a 10-8 or a 10-7 or something like that, the way the WBC tried to implement at some point back in the day, or do you just not care enough about this?
Well, I've not got a problem with scoring 10-8 rounds. In sometimes when there's not been knocked down, but you don't want to get carried away doing them. I mean, we talk about scorecards, it seems like once a month, You're never going to get a perfect system. Last night was a close fight, whichever way you look at it, I think. And you could, any of the 3 results would have been, I wouldn't have argued with, to be fair. But I know, but I don't. The one thing I don't think there should be even rounds, which last night's official cards suggest that there wasn't. I haven't looked into it in detail. It suggests that there wasn't any even rounds scored there, which is fair enough.
I got asked during the week, I think it might be Thursday night or Friday night or something like that, about the judges when they got announced. I think the Leatherman and Weisfeld. Who's it? Steve Weisfeld. I think they two I was pretty solid with. I think they're really good scorers of fights. Especially Leatherman, she's really good at scoring the fights. I think generally you get kind of solid cards. Velbin was the other one I was kind of worried about, but I think by and large judges got it just about right.
Didn't Weisfeld, Andy, go for a stint at doing Boxing After Dark, scoring like a Harold Lederman type role or something for a while?
Was that him? Kind of like draw? No, that wasn't it.
He did Barker against Gale, didn't he? I remember him scoring Barker against Gale exactly the same way.
Chuck Jamper was doing it sometimes.
That's who it was.
I think people, though, fans are like, I've seen complain about the draw, saying there's no definitive winner. But I think if you look at it, if someone had got the nod, look at the Ward Kovalev fight. If that had been a draw and Kovalev got to keep his titles, people probably wouldn't have been that bothered because they said it was a close fight. But because Kovalev lost that fight and most felt he won, they were pissed off. Whereas this fight, it seems most people feel Jack won. But I think the draw, you can't really argue when it is legitimately close. And it's sport. And if something is close and it's a draw, that's just the way it is. I don't think there's any real way around of doing it. I mean, I'm just thankful there weren't no stupid cards, Jack winning, wide or DeGale winning wide. I think in a close fight, the judges were pretty much spot on, in my opinion. And I said pretty much the same thing about Ward Kovalev. Although I wanted Kovalev to win, I felt it was a close fight. So, it was a shame that he didn't get one win on one of the judges' cards. But, again, hopefully a rematch can happen. But in this sport, it seems to take forever to get anything sorted.
Yeah, I think the scores reflected the close nature of the fight, Kurt. It would have been a travesty if they'd have come out with a 117, 110 or something like that in favour of somebody. I think that would have pissed me off a little bit. But right, we're going to move on to the undercard in a minute. Before we do, Tommy, not that I want to unleash you, because I know what you've been like all week with Triple G Canelo type talk, but Steve Antrobus has got involved. He says, after what we saw last night, if Triple G moves up, does he handle the pair of them, Jack and DeGale? I think he kills DeGale to the body, and Jack has a bit of a glass jaw. He got floored from a jab. Do you think Triple G would smash through these two, Tommy?
Well, the way you look at it is, I think Triple G and Canelo equally are they're at the top of the sport. And if you look at the likes of Badou Jack and James DeGale, I wouldn't put them right at the top of the sport. I put them in a level below. So you've got to say that Triple G would beat the two of them. That's just the way I see it personally. It's a jump up in weight. It's actually quite a big jump for Triple G, because as we all know, he's not a big middleweight, is he? So, but I think if he went up, yeah, he would beat the two of them. Yes, he'd definitely beat Badou Jack. He'd not Badou Jack out.
The guru has spoken. We're going to come back to you later, Tommy, because someone's been giving you a bit of grief on the Facebook page, but I want you to get yourself all pumped up. Have a drink of water, calm yourself down, and after we've finished with this card and whatever else was on over the weekend, we'll come to that. Let's get on to the undercard, guys. Jose Pedraza lost his IBF World Super Featherweight title against Gervonta Davis. There were wins for Amanda Serrano, Emmanuel Alim, with maybe an upset win, you could say, against Evgen Kaitrov, and then other fighters of lesser note, as Dave the Hater Lowback was talking about. First of all, Kurt, Pedraza Davis, let's get stuck into that one. I picked Pedraza last week. I got it wrong. I was actually on a Facebook group, and I went for the Davis KO.
Did you bet on it?
What is it?
Did you bet on it?
No. I went for Davis and the draw and Pedraza, so I went each way, Andy. I haven't been getting involved in this, by the way, this bet gate, so I'm not going to be drawn on this one. Kurt, Davis, we didn't know. It was sink or swim for him against a tough guy in Pedraza. Not really a puncher, Pedraza, but Davis has been badgering Floyd to get him the big fight. He got him the fight, and I was really impressed with this kid. Looked really good. Moved at the hips, had a nice pair of flashy trunks on, showed all the moves, a tattooed throat as well. He had it all going on, Davis.
Yeah, well, I was really impressed with him. I didn't know what to expect, because this is a sink or swim kind of fight for him. It's a big step up, and Pedraza, he's not spectacular, but he's steady, and he does. He's a good fighter in himself. But straight away, this guy was landing a lot of punches, explosive punches. But I felt he was going to be like, what's he going to be like in the 5th or 6th round once he starts tiring? And Pedraza, who's more experienced. But I think all the headshots, Pedraza showed a really good chin, because this guy's obviously a puncher, but he hurt him to the body in around the 6th round, and I think that took everything out of Pedraza. And this guy, I think that's a breakthrough performance, and he's definitely one to watch. Like, if he went in that fight last night and lost, or people would have been saying, "Oh, he's exposed" and all that. Fans want fighters to take chances, and when a guy does, they just say he's exposed if he doesn't, get the right result. But this guy really looked the business against Pedraza, and some good fights out there for him. He's basically a prospect with a world title now. But from what you've seen in that fight yesterday, he looks legit to me, and hopefully they push him on. Don't just take him back down a level now. He's got this world title, because I was really impressed with him, and I think most people will be.
He was cocky, Tommy. He was flashy. He seemed to know what he was doing. Obviously, we were worried about him going the distance, but sometimes guys just do the distance. You have to do the distance at some point. Pedraza seemed to be the perfect opponent for him. He just wasn't able to do that much with Davis at all, and he's going to be a good fighter going forward. I'm looking forward to where they take this kid. Tommy, what are they going to do with him? What's Floyd going to do with him?
Tommy's way for a smoke.
Me and Tommy at Casuals, we just logged off. I mean, I absolutely smashed into the Pedraza KO, but I got that one wrong as well.
Sorry, Smith. Go ahead, boys.
I actually backed the draw, but then at the last minute, I put a tidy sum on Davis to win by knockout, and I made a £200 profit. It was massive profit, by the way. £200. It's amazing. Yeah.
I just see Tommy now, Andy. I thought he said he was going for a smoke in 5 minutes, but he's actually gone now. He's deserted us, man. You tell us about the fight.
Did you already discuss how ridiculous Pedraza's game plan seemed to be?
No, we just got on into the fight, mate. When you go, fire away.
I mean, okay, maybe when we got to the fourth round and Davis was looking a little bit tired, I thought, okay, well, maybe Pedraza is secretly a genius here, getting the young kid into deep waters by using this sort of smothering tactic. But then, of course, Gervonta, I guess they pronounce it, he just unloads, lands pretty much every clean power shot, and Pedraza just died. I mean, it was a star-making performance, I think. I mean, in this modern era of boxing, promoters, fans, networks, we're taking stars where we can get them. He's American. He's a little bit funny. I think he's either just became a star or he's a future star if he keeps winning. So good for him. I mean, I was impressed, really impressed, because even though Pedraza isn't elite, world level, as define it.
Hater started breaking up a bit there towards the end, Andy. I think we got the gist of what he said. He thinks Davis is going to become a bit of a star. He's a bit cocky. He's a bit of a trash talker. Would you concur with what he's saying? Do you see a bright future for this kid?
Definitely, mate. I know there are a lot of people down on him because he's not fought, much opposition. It was a PBC way. He kind of gradually bring these kids up and stuff. But he's been badgering for fights. He got, a decent world title fight, or world title champion, I should say. He's not great in any way, shape, or form, but he's certainly got a lot of tools. Certainly, the finish was pretty emphatic. Good power. He seems to box pretty well. So as long as he stays at that level, I don't want to see him step back down the levels and fight like the kind of opponents that Garcia's been fighting for example. Guy absolute trash. But hopefully he gets a couple of good defences under his belt. He certainly seems to be quite exciting to watch. I know he's been on quite a few of the prospect lists and stuff over the last year or so. I think I saw him in one actually just a couple of weeks back as well. So I know the Yanks are probably going to get big on the fact that he's the youngest title holder just now, 22 years old. So the other thing as well is you have had the warning signs with him. He's basically admitted as well he's been running with the cash, Floyd Mayweather lifestyle type thing. So you just wonder as well as will it go to his head? Will he stay focused and composed and stuff? It's all saying winning a world title is hard. It's even harder to defend it. So you just wonder what kind of mentality he's got. So hopefully he kind of keeps it together. Because Baltimore, if you look at this kid's upbringing and stuff, he's had it hard, so he's not had it easy any way, shape or form as well. So you just don't know who he's hanging about with. The area of Baltimore where he comes from actually as well is a complete shithouse. So hopefully he can stay away from there as well.
I would love to see him face Jason Sosa next, the guy who made it interesting with Nicholas Walters and had a good fight with Stephen Smith. I think that'd be a war.
Good shout, Dave. Good shout. Kurt, at the end of one of the rounds, it slips my mind what round it was. The doctors intervened and did some kind of test on Pedraza to see how sober he was and see if he was still functioning mentally. James O'Carroll asks on the Facebook page regarding this. He said, what do you, Kurt, think of the New York State Commission's doctors doing this roadside sobriety test with getting the fighter to walk and take side steps? James says, I'm all for fighter safety, but does it not give potentially hurt fighters more time to recover by causing delays in rounds getting started? And it also takes the decision-making process away from the referees. What did you think of that whole thing?
Well, I think the issue with that fight last night was Pedraza was taking a lot of clean headshots. I mean, he seemed to be taking them all pretty well, but he was taking a hell of a lot. And this guy's obviously, on his record, he's a puncher. But I can see the argument for both. I mean, fighter safety should come above anything else. But if you're a guy who's landing clean punches and the fight keep getting stopped to have a few seconds here and there with the doctor, I mean, they can fighters, they're crafty, they can make things longer. We saw with James DeGale spitting out the gum shield quite a few times in the fight, all getting a little bit of time here and there or trying to. So it's whatever they do, it's going to be criticised by some, I suppose. But I think when a guy's taking clean headshots like that, even though he doesn't appear, he wasn't like he was getting knocked down or wobbled or anything, but he's just walking onto pure headshots. I think it's fine to have a look now and again, just to see if he's all right, because a fighter, we've seen now just keep going. Most of them will, and even the referees don't act, and then the corner certainly won't act. So sometimes, especially with some of the recent injuries we've seen, maybe it's for the best if they carry on doing that.
Tommy, speak to me. Are you back?
Yo, I'm back. Yo.
Excellent stuff. We're on to Gervonta Davis against Jose Pedraza.
Right.
Right, on to the 130-pound division. Let me think. I haven't got any of the rankings or anything in front of me, so I'm thinking IBF. Gervonta Davis is the champion now. Who do you think he's going to fight next? They're going to bang in a couple of mandatories, try and look to unify at some point. Vargas is a champion, isn't he? At super feather.
Vargas, WBC.
Corrales fight the other week against one of the Japanese guys as well. He's there.
Liam Walsh potentially could. I think he's number 1 with IBF. I'm pretty sure. So
Liam Walsh should do a title shot, and it would be against Davis, wouldn't it? I'm pretty sure it is IBF. He's number 1 with yeah. So.
See, to be honest, I would love to see Walsh take that fight because I just think, he
needs a fight, doesn't he? He needs a world title fight. He's been on the fringes now for maybe about 3 or 4 years. See, he left after he beat Scott Harrison and that. He should have really been fighting for a world title back then. He was ready. Obviously, the warning that's he's not been in the best of shape for his business and that lately. So hopefully now they've got the deal with BT and that maybe they can kick on. Walsh desperately needs a title shot. It's just a shame.
How does he cope? Tommy, how does he cope though, Tommy, with this Davis kid? I know it's the first time we've seen him.
He gets knocked out.
The accuracy, the power.
He gets knocked out. I'd say maybe about 5 or 6 rounds. Yep. Confident. I like Davis. I was really impressed with him last night. Big fan of Jose Pedraza. I've liked what I've seen from him over the years. He was definitely a world class fighter. And that kid went in there last night and he just done a job on him. He is the real deal. I want to see him against Lomachenko. That's how high I rate Davis just now. I'm not saying he beat Lomachenko. I think Lomachenko is probably the best fighter in the world. But that if anybody's got a chance of beating him, it's probably that kid just now. He's frightening. Really good.
He's frightening.
That would be a great money fight to make down the road. I think that would be fantastic. The 2 stars of 2 different rival stables coming together.
Yep.
Smido, everyone's getting carried away here. Could it just be a case of style makes fights? Pedraza's too slow of foot, of hand, he can't get his head out the way. Could we see Davis look ordinary against a different style of opponent, or do you think he's the goods?
Steve, you've shown me up. I've not watched it. I wouldn't know if he was or he came and sat next to me on my bed now.
Don't worry about it, man. Hater Dave doesn't worry about not watching fights.
I would probably put... I mean, obviously, whoever Davis fights next, I'm just going to back him to lose by KO. You know, I don't think his stamina's there. I've had a bet on Pedraza KO, so I'm going to keep backing him KO until I win £200.
What about the draw, mate? You're going to back the draw, 91?
Well, I'd like better than 9-1. I normally go around the 22-1 mark for a draw.
Fucking, hey, mate, that's a big profit, like.
Right, any other comments about this card before we move on?
No. Say a brief word about Kaitrov.
Yes, go ahead, Dave.
That might have been the fight of the card. It was an
Please.
action fight. It was great. I mean, it was back and forth, momentum shifts, 2 knockdowns. What really impressed me was how quick it started. Emmanuel, he spells Emmanuel really weird. Emmanuel, the chosen one, Alim. He started quick, started confidently. But then immediately it was up and down. It reminded me of Holyfield's performance when he was supposedly sick after he ate bad seafood in this 3rd bow fight. His level went up and down, and his energy was like, he was like on fire, and then he was just could barely stand up. And it was like that for Alim, except with a different outcome. But he looked really relieved when that ended.
That was a good fight. Like, I mean, as I say, Steve, before we came on live, and I've said it before in other shows, and I've never really been sold on Kirtov. I know if you look at the amateur pedigree, he's got he's well experienced. I know he got jobbed against what do you call him, Ogogo, the Olympics, and he's a former world amateur champion. I think he beat Murata, and I think he got beat off the Jason Quigley and Europeans or whatever. But he just never seems to have kind of like progressed for me in the pros. I just think, as I say, Steve, as well as his level of opposition, I just think the way he like the other Eastern Europeans seem to be getting kind of pushed somewhat. He hasn't. And then last night he's fighting there. That was a huge upset there last night. And see, to be honest, see that first round, he got his cunt kicked in. By the way, that could have been a 10-8 round, fucking easy, absolutely easy. But he did, man. He got his cunt kicked in. Absolutely.
He did. I agree with you.
He could have got stopped in that first round. I swear to God. But I should have a bit of heart, I suppose. But as I say, what was that guy's name again?
His defence is non-existent, isn't it?
Oh man, he's no fucking head movement. But honest to God, what a fucking showing up he got in that fight. Like, and that's what I love about boxing. Something you just get the fucking magical upsets. Aye, good fight.
I think that the size of the upset really reflects on how boxing fans, and even me, I'm guilty of this as well, are guilty of putting too much stock in Eastern European guys just because they're Eastern European, and they have that sort of reputation of being these focused assassins. He was undefeated, and he was a huge puncher going in. Maybe not as huge as his record implied, and he was going against a guy who had fought nothing. So, I mean, I guess we should have shown a little bit more respect to Aleem, or a little bit less respect to Petrov.
Final comments. Pedraza was making a really funny, loud screaming noise throughout the fight, and it brought me back in time to Anthony Farnell used to do that. He used to sort of go every time he threw a shot. Anybody think of any grunters or screamers from the past?
Cloner.
Broner's going to be the worst, doesn't he?
Cloner's up there.
The Williams sisters in tennis sound more fucking male than Browner, don't they, when he punches?
Ricky Hatton used to do it a little bit.
I'm just going to say that, mate.
Devin Alexander, the average.
I was going to say that one.
Yeah.
Alex under the average, definitely. Aye. I remember watching Choco actually on the pads for the Kudras fight. He was obviously like kind of trying to get the weight off, and he's getting beasted. He's getting worked fucking really hard, and he's just like just kind of like just trying to get the punches out as best as possible. You can see he was struggling like fuck. Like trying to think who else. Does Cleverly know that a bit?
Someone mentioned Cleverly, but I've never noticed it. Anyway, we'll not worry too much about that, guys. Right, we have a caller on the line. Our friend Low Place. Our friend Low Place has jumped on.
Yeah, what's up, man? Thank y'all for having me, man. Shout out to both guys for putting on a unification bout. We don't get that very much. It's been a whole year since having one with Crawford and the guy from Ukraine. Can't think of his name right now.
Postal.
Yeah, Victor Poster. Yeah, it's right there, but Victor Poster. My take from, and it's not a U.S. bias. Jack is he's a U.S. citizen, but he's from Sweden. He's a Swede. I know Javier, he's on here somewhere.
It's actually Javier.
Yeah, hey, over here that's hard to pronounce over here, but yeah, Badou Jack, I would agree with him. I thought Badou Jack broke him down in one round while breaking him down in one pretty convincingly, pretty wide. I couldn't believe people were going into the 12th round saying, oh, that knockdown tied it up, or oh, he needs a knockdown to be in the fight. Scorecards can't tell people just how badly James DeGale is beat up today and just how badly he was hurt in that fight. He's losing teeth. He's cut over the left eye. And this is not a fight full of headbutts and fouls to the head. So everything that you see above the shoulders is coming from actual work. And he has a dent over his left eye. He has a swollen right eye. His tooth is on the canvas right by his mouthpiece. It was basically I want somebody to point out the great work he done on the back foot. If you're going to fight on the back foot, I want to see you countering like Crawford did post-off. I want to see that. And then if you want to step in on the inside and let off your rip shots, they look a little better then. But you can't win the fight just slapping around the guard. Where's his creativity with his punches? Where's a right hand to the body? Badou Jack had these punches. He saw the openings. He took them. James DeGale basically fought to make the openings. He slapped until he had an opening, and then maybe one good one to land. I could not.
Usually it was the uppercut, I think. That was his best punch. That was the one that he had the most success with.
Agreed. And then Badou Jack would come and match them. He would come and match with some of his own uppercuts. I liked him throwing the left hook in between these flurries and it just looked all stronger. It looked all like you can't come in here with me. Like boy versus man is what I was seeing. And both did VADA testing because somebody said Badou Jack was dirty. No, they both did VADA testing. And for the WBC title.
Low Place, going into the fight, who did you pick beforehand? Who did you think would win?
I really didn't make a pick. I picked based off of this. I picked based off the progression in boxing. I knew it was a possible 50-50 fight. I think James DeGale is one of the worst fighters I've ever seen, but I know he can actually win a fight. That's what he does. He makes it tough on the opponent. But I picked based on who had the bigger plans. I think James DeGale didn't see the bigger picture. The winner of this year was Fighter of the Year potential. They had Fighter of the Year potential. But James DeGale wanted to follow that up with a Callum Smith win. Badou Jack wanted to follow it up with a Adonis Stevenson fight, they were saying. If you beat Adonis, you are Fighter of the Year. You go, you beat Callum. People say, well, you had one, maybe you in the top 10 for Fighter of the Year. But I picked based on who was trying to progress. And I said, well, I got to root for Jack here. But it wasn't any bias there. It was like I said, look at the face. It's confirmed. Tell me what James DeGale did better. Did he do the better body work? Did he have a better jab? Did he?
No, he landed 4 jabs in 12 rounds.
Exactly. I'm trying to. Was he the better counter puncher? No, he was just volume. He was flashy hand speed, volume, and footwork.
What did you think, Low Place, about, we were talking just there before you came on about Gervonta Davis, his breakout win, really. He'd come from nowhere, opponents-wise, to beat Pedraza. Did you see this one coming? What did you make of his performance?
Yeah, he's explosive puncher. He did a little too much rolling on the ropes for me because the volume of Pedraza. I like the way Pedraza fought. He's a taller man. He kept the shorter man under pressure. He just took a massive body shot that could have hurt anybody, and he fought like a real champion. You know, he tried to withstand it. Gervonta Davis has some beautiful combination. He should use his feet more to set those combinations up when his opponent's hurt. But what he did on that knockout, I think it was a right hook that he talked over. If you look at his left elbow, he took his elbow and he stuck his left elbow on Pedraza's guard and pushed it in his chest. And Pedraza's chin was just open for the taking, and he damn near killed him. He did a Joe Smith Jr. type of under the rope knockout with front fire. That was crazy.
Dave, did you want to come in there?
Oh, sorry, I meant to be muted.
All right, okay, no problem. Low Place, it's good to hear you, man. It's good to have you on. Is there anything else you want to talk about on the card or anything boxing related you want to bring up on the show before we move on?
Just appreciate y'all having me on. I know people giving Lara hell about the opponent, but let's hope that Andre can beat Koke and he'll be the mandatory, and they can fight in the summer, and Lara can get back to fighting opponents we want to see him fight. That's one thing since he fought earlier this week. I appreciate y'all though, man.
No problem.
Cheers,
Thanks
man.
for coming
Thank
on. Low Place there jumping on. I think wasn't he on before, Andy? Maybe a good one.
He's been on before, mate. He's been on before. He's a regular listener. I'm sure he hangs about with a couple of other podcasts, and that, mainly the American ones and that, but I know he's been a long time listener of this show. Knows his shit, like.
Yep, definitely does. He mentioned a fight we're going to move on to very shortly, Erislandy Lara against Yuri Foreman. We've also got quite a few BOTWs of the week this week, so we're going to get them out before we head on. A few Twitter questions, Facebook questions, and I believe Kurt is going to talk about Canelo Chavez Jr. as well very shortly. Just before we go on to Lara, Smido's on the line, Dave Loback as well on the train still, Andy Patterson, Kurt Ward, and Tommy Allen are also joining us. Let's get on with it then. Kurt, I'm going to go on to you first at the, oh my gosh, how do you pronounce that? Hialeah Park Racing and Casino in Florida. Erislandy Lara, the WBA Super Welterweight title and the IBO title on the line. We want to see Lara active in against better opponents than this. We talked about Foreman last week. Decent fighter in his day, never the greatest. Talk to me about the finish, first of all, Kurt. I watched it a couple of times on YouTube and I couldn't see where the hell that left hand landed. Was it the head? Was it the body? Was it the arms? Where exactly did he hit him, Kurt?
You see me deflect that punch, was it not?
Yeah, it was just the uppercut. Just went right like around his nose and mouth hair. It was just you couldn't see until whatever broadcast where it was on. They showed like a few replays of it. I didn't see it either, and then they showed it from the side, and yeah, it caught him in super slow. And I mean, Foreman was all over the place. I mean, to his credit, he tried to carry on, but his legs were just gone. I mean. I like Lara, to be honest, and I like watching him fight, and I know he gets a lot of criticism. It's like I've said before, it's like whoever represents him, it's like self-sabotage. Some of the opponents they've put in with him, I mean, the Jan Zavics and Marty Rosian and Ishay Smith and Darwin Rodriguez. I mean, these fights just do absolutely nothing. I mean, they're just terrible fights. And I mean,
Austin Trout, that had to be the worst fight in history.
Exactly, a terrible style. But and yesterday he's like, or Friday he's in with Yuri Foreman. I mean, an absolute shit fight. But from his point of view, maybe he looks at someone like Rigondeaux and sees a guy who can't get any fights, can't get on TV. He might be just happy to do what he's doing. He's picking up decent paydays, fighting in fights that he's more talented than the guys. There might be shit fights, but he could look at another Cuban guy and think, well, I could be like him and not get any TV time, so I've got to settle for this. I think he wants big fights, but for whatever reason, they don't want to fight him. I'm not saying no one's scared of him or nothing, but he's just a bad star fight, isn't he? He's a bit like Rigondeaux. I mean, why fight him? You can beat him, but you know what I mean? I think his record shows that he's willing to fight, guys who will fight him. He fought Paul Williams in only about his 11th fight, and obviously was robbed in that fight. Obviously fought Canelo, and I just wanted to see a good fight. I mean, the 154 division, there's a few of the same kind of stylists around. I don't know if any of them are going to get it on. Maybe he should just move up to middleweight and see if he can try and get a fight up there. I don't know, but maybe he just doesn't want to, move up and, leave his title while he's got that title. He's still on TV. He can still make decent paydays. He's a tough one, but no one really is demanding or eager to see him in with he says he wants to fight Golovkin. He said he wants Canelo. He's not going to get them fights. And the fans, just like with Rigondeaux, they seem happy for him not to get the fight. I don't get it because I'd be happy to see him fight Golovkin instead of some of the garbage he has fought, but the fans don't want to see it for whatever reason.
Tommy, putting aside promotional problems and that, Kurt's right. There's definitely got to be better opponents than this. I'd love to see him moving on. You got Julian Williams. He fought Charlo, didn't he, recently? He could be in the mix. Charles Hatley talks more than he fights, but I'd say he's not a bad fighter. Even someone like Erickson Lubin's on the way up, or Andrade. They've got to find better opponents than Lara, haven't they? Maybe someone who'd even come forward and have a go at him.
That's right, Ray, but the thing is, it's trying to find opponents for him, and that if you're managing a fight or that, you want to put him in with Lara, so it's going to be hard. As was mentioned, the Rigondeaux situation, it's going to be hard for Lara to get fights, so he's basically going to take what's on offer for him, isn't it? I can't see anybody really jumping at the chance to fight him. Obviously, Canelo done it. Canelo's a superstar, takes on everybody. Fair play to him, but there's nobody else really going to be in a rush to do it. Golovkin doesn't want to do it. There's not really anybody in the 154 division want to do it, so I didn't really see. I think Lara's career is going to fizzle away, to be honest.
You just wonder if, I know you mentioned Charlo, but surely you would like to think they maybe get one of the unification fights there, hopefully. But then again, I mean, I remember before the Matarosian fight, Lara kept going on about, he was avoided and nobody wanted to fight him and stuff, and then he went in against Matarosian, and it was a fucking shitfest. Because into fight sometimes and absolutely just bores the absolute arse off you. Apart from, and if you look at the Angulo fight and that, people say he was chinny, he's no slick, this, that, and the next thing. He's infuriating sometimes to watch. At the same time, you wonder what his management team are fucking doing, getting fucking guys like Foreman, who's been out the ring, don't know how long. I know he's not been fighting top guys and stuff, and he's been a rabbi. He's doing his boxing promoting, his knee fucking sorted and all that sort of stuff. What did he do to earn a title fight? Fuck all.
Absolutely nothing. Does anybody know the purses for Friday night?
Don't know about Friday night, but I heard DeGale earned $750,000 for that fight.
$750,000, yeah.
Fucking hell, man! For that, you think about it like some guys like.
He'll get money for Sky as well. On top of that, he'll get.
But you think about like Garcia getting paid the fucking money he's getting paid, and you got DeGale, and if DeGale's getting $750,000, you would think Jack's getting parity, So you just wonder, man, some of these fucking purses.
Crazy. I remember back in the day, Andre Berto, when he was
$1 million.
He's making $1.8 million against absolute shit, man.
He was getting huge money, wasn't he, Tommy? Do you remember when he fought Cosme Rivera on HBO? They were giving him over $1 million for that. He was getting overpaid.
He was the best. He had the best deal in boxing. Him at one point, didn't he? Fucking fighting bums. He was getting fucking nearly $2 million for it. Yeah, that guy's meant to be fucking minted.
At light middleweight or super welterweight, whatever the hell you want to call it. What about your man Tony Harrison? Isn't he still flicking about? He knocked out Rabchenko, didn't he, on the first Frampton undercard? I like the look of him, actually. Anybody looking forward to seeing him taking over the light middleweight division now?
We saw him. We saw him run into real trouble against, who was it? That guy that Andre just beat, Michael something.
Willie Nelson.
Yeah, Willie
Yeah,
Nelson.
Nelson,
Yeah.
yeah. That's right.
Yeah, we saw
that's
him
right.
come unraveled there. I think he has stamina issues when he gets pressure.
Oh, he's shit then, Dave. So forget I ever even mentioned that.
No,
Right,
he's not.
anything
But
else?
Yeah, that was a big upset, weren't it? That when he lost that fight, but
Yeah.
he's just in division. I think Lara needs. He needs like an Angulo type, someone who's going to come forward looking to knock him out. When he's fighting these guys, fans just don't care. I mean, Lara, like ring days, fans just don't care about him. They're happy for him just to retire, and they don't care if they ever see him again, which is a shame. But that's the way they are. And when fans make me laugh. They complain about fighters ducking. They complain about fighters avoiding. Yet when guys like Regendale get avoided or Lara, a lot of them, especially the American media guys, they're like, well, who cares? Yet they'll moan about someone ducking someone else. Well, you can't have it both ways.
I'm trying to remember. It's Tony Harrison, that American fighter that used to train with Manuel Stewart.
Yeah, the Crown.
That's aye, right. Okay.
Klitschko on the card. He was a middleweight or light middleweight, weren't he?
Trying to remember who he was again, eh?
Right. Anything else on this card? Anthony Durrell against Norbert.
I see where Juan Carlos Payano got a win in that card as well. He's the next world champ. Who the fuck did he lose the title to? Raushi Warren, that's who it was.
Right, Raushi Warren. Aye.
Not a close fight.
Two close fights, weren't they?
Aye.
Raushi Warren's actually overachieved by my expectations. I thought he was just always going to go and get it in his own head and not perform, but he's actually done okay.
I really liked him as an amateur. See when he won the world title, he looked brilliant. But the Olympics after that, I watched him. He just didn't turn up. It was an Eastern. I'm sure he looked an Eastern European. I can't remember who it was, but he looked shit. I didn't expect much from the pros. I think he's actually overachieved. He has overachieved in the pros.
Yeah.
He could turn out to be the next Clarence Vincent, Tommy.
Aye.
Remember him?
No, who the fuck's that?
Right, this is going downhill fast. Let's get some questions and save us from this insanity. Smido, I want to hear your voice more often. Lestin Venables wants to take us back to last night and DeGale, etc. Do you think Eddie was quiet after the fight because of the potential of Jack vacating the belt?
Well, I think if Jack vacating the belt, which the way they're talking looks likely for me, I think that's going to be a pain in the arse for all involved. By Anthony Durrell, I think, for the WBC. So I could maybe see Callum Smith going straight in with DeGale for the IBF regardless of the WBC. I don't really know. I mean, people have been taking the mick out of Eddie last night because he got brushed off a little bit in the interview and that. But,
it was quality, mate.
Yeah, but look, he ain't that famous in America. Like, DeGale called him over. He didn't exactly run over and start grabbing the mic and then get mugged off. They looked at, Floyd's the man who they wanted to speak to, not bloody Eddie Hearn. I mean, he would have just stood there in the corner, quiet, smiled, but DeGale kind of called him in and he got mugged off a bit. I'm not giving him stick for that.
Yeah, I was there last night. I didn't even know Eddie was there. I saw Carl Cobra.
Over Kell Brook, and they've been chatting with Paulie, and Callum Smith was there, and I think Joe Gallagher, etc. All of our favourites were there, No, I'm not giving him too much stick. I don't know what's going to happen with Callum Smith. I mean, it's been, TJ keeps a tick of it on Twitter. But I think we're over nearly 750 days now since Callum Smith fought for a WBC eliminator. I still think that he's going to get flattened by a hook at some stage in his career. Possibly.
See last night, does anybody remember, like I was cut to Joe Gallagher, and every time I cut to him, his eyes were fixated on Mayweather, weren't they?
Oh, I didn't know that.
Oh my God, man! Every time I cut to him,
you see, the thing is, Mayweather's got one of the kind of Paris Hilton dogs, and Joe's want to shag it, eh?
Kurt, as much as you want to talk about shagging dogs, let's get back to Callum Smith. Callum Smith pissed me off a little bit, and for no fault of his own. What is to suggest that he's even going to beat the likes of Jack and DeGale and that? Because nothing on his record to me screams world level. I mean, just because people keep telling us he's world level, like Jamie Moore, Darren Barker, Sky TV, who if they told you it was raining, you'd check outside. It's like Pravda. They keep telling us that Callum Smith's world class. How do we know this, Kurt? Where's the proof? Show me the empirical evidence.
Look, Matchroom Boxing and Sky Sports, they're like fucking George Orwell's 1984. It's fucking thought police. They rule what you think. They try and push it on you. You got to think this. Callum Smith's world class by doing what? Knocking out a few guys no one really cares about. Let's be fair to him. He's in this mandatory spot apparently, so he's not going to fight anyone, worth a damn because they don't want to mess it up. But that tells you, I think, what they think about his talent in my eyes. I've seen most of his fights. He looks impressive again at this level, but what do we make of it? I mean, until we see him in there, we just don't know. They say he's a big puncher. Well, let's see him knock out someone like a James DeGale or a Badou Jack. We ain't going to see it. And I think with Eddie not being his usual ranting south about a dodgy decision, it's simply because James DeGale is not going to be a matchroom fighter after this fight. I mean, whatever he's hanging on by a thread anyway. He's a bit like Lee Selby, I think, and he wants nothing to do with Eddie Hearn. I think that was the last. Someone said that was the last fight under Matchroom. So, from Eddie's point of view, why is he going to go ranting and raving? I mean, if it's a Paul Smith or Callum Smith, he'll be doing his ranting and raving. These are long-term Matchroom guys, but James DeGale's off. He'll sign with Mayweather or whoever he'll sign with, and that'll be the end of it. Callum Smith, that if Jack has moved up, he's going to be mandatory, and he'll be fighting one of the Durrells. I'd rather it be the good Durrell, the running man as I call him, but it looks like it's going to be his brother, the lesser one. But that's still a big step up for him. So let's see what happens. But I don't see anything in Callum Smith, to be honest. I mean, they tell us Paul Smith's world level. So when they say that, you just think they're just mongs.
What you have to do is you put it in perspective, right? They're telling us he's world class. Hey, as Steve says, you can't be world class unless you've won at world class. So you put that down there right now. If you look at his best wins, it's probably Rabrasi. Who else? The Serbian guy he fought. These guys are European level, right? So he's a European level fighter at the moment. I'm not one of the guys that hate every Joe Gallagher fighter. I know there's a lot of people out there that do. I rate a lot of these fighters. I like Crolla. I quite like Callum Smith. I think he's quite good to watch. But at the moment, you can't put the guy world class. He's not proved it yet. So unless you prove it, you're not world class. He's European level.
Beat somebody at world level, Tommy. You've got to beat somebody at world level. Even holding a world title belt. It's going to sound like a stupid thing to say, but I'm just going to say it anyway. Even holding a world title these days doesn't necessarily mean you're proven world class. Look at AJ, for example. Has he ever beaten a world class opponent? No.
Exactly. There's 4 world titles in the world. It's easier than ever to get a world title these days. There's 4, so you can actually buy one. So you've got to beat a world class. That's a good point, actually. You've got to beat a world class opponent to be world class. Even a title doesn't make you a world class fighter either. It's true.
Back to what you were saying about DeGale probably leaving Eddie. Floyd himself said openly at the post-fight press conference he wants to sign DeGale.
Yeah, wasn't Bob Arum in the market for him? If you look at it really, right, Eddie's input and impact on DeGale's career has been quite minimal. Started off with Frank Warren, then he went to Fat Mick, didn't he, for a while on Channel 5. He's with PBC now. Eddie's sort of just another, notch on the road, really, of DeGale's career.
Yeah, and DeGale says he's a road warrior and he gets a lot of praise, but he's basically been forced to do it because, let's be honest, he's not. If he was fighting over here on Matchroom, he'd be on undercards to Callum Smith or undercards to one of the or Tony Bowie or something like that. At least over there he can earn Heyman money and go to these venues like in Canada or whatever and make good money. And I think that's what he doesn't want to do. He wants to be the star, and unfortunately for him, because he's got a good style, he hasn't really got a big fan base. Someone like George Groves, his rival, sells quite a few tickets. DeGale never really has, and that's a shame because DeGale's always in entertaining fights. He's a good fighter to watch.
I just got a question for everybody quickly, right? Does anybody, bear in mind he's only 26, does anybody believe that Callum Smith will be a world-class fighter one day?
No.
No.
Nope.
No. Just Smido then?
I'm probably in the minority here because I actually quite rate him highly. I'm not saying that he's just going to go in and he's going to start blowing people away on the top fighters and that, but I think he's got a lot of potential, to be honest.
He has got the potential, he's got the height, he has got some decent power. I just think he's like every other Joe Gallagher fighter. He's just stiff, too upright, no head movement. I just think he's got a lot of aim. He's got a lot to aim at. I want to see him getting hit in the button. We've not seen him getting clipped. That's the other thing. I mean, 2-3 questions he says. He go to the gas tank. He's got.
Yep.
I know people say that he's a nasty bastard. You know, he's one of the quiet ones. The quiet ones are always the one to watch, all that sort of shit and that. You know, so you just don't know if he's got the the gut check in him. You just don't know. And obviously he's not kind of take the body shots.
Yep. I think he is potentially. I'm not going to say that he's going to be, but I think there's a lot to like about Callum Smith.
Smido, getting to world level now, I don't want to get into a black hole on this, but I'm going to say it anyway. It's like almost as if you have to hold sort of 2 belts now to be the type of world class you would have had to 20 years ago.
Yeah, I mean, well, it's just we've lambasted the rankings and the belt mess for some time. A lot of us have just completely gave up, and like you, Steve, you don't really care what title's on the line. You just we want to see the best fight the best kind of thing. It's just a joke. We've got lineages are just being killed off by the likes of Cotto and my favourite Adonis. We're just and Canelo. We're just in a mess, and it's what I've always said is, though, I cannot see a resolution. I can't see how we fix the problem, because fighters are still going to take belts and shit ones and shit rankings. Promoters are obviously going to fall over themselves to promote a world title, and ITV, you're going to, say they've got a world champion, and so the broadcasters, the promoters, the fighters, there's no solution to the mess.
Yeah, we're going to be talking Canelo Chavez Jr. shortly. Kurt's going to lead us into that one. Let's crack on with these questions in the meantime. Tommy, James Joyce has been on the Facebook page having a go at you. He says, the guru, quote unquote, is a fucking mong. I'm finished with the asylum because of that fat idiot. His Canelo rant so ridiculous. He doesn't even go on the podcast. You just need to tell him to bounce. Shouldn't be a problem for that beach ball.
He's fucking raging.
Yeah, but that's the problem, though.
Why do you know at me? Why do you know at me on Twitter? Fuck's sake.
Because mate, it would obviously mean you would need to actually then out yourself with who he actually is, because he's not one of the guys on Facebook, but he's not got his own picture on his fucking page.
He hides behind a fake account. See what I've got to say to you, James Joyce, right? You're a prick. If you want to say anything to me, you at me, right? You at me. I'm not a shrinking violet. I'll fucking, you know what I mean? At me.
Because that.
You better watch, man. Shep will be saying, there's Tommy threatening people again. What a thug he is.
Your Facebook account's not worth a fucking carrot. It's true though, man. It's fucking. I hate that, man. See, folk they hide behind fucking fake Twitter accounts, no pictures of themselves. They don't put their name all that up. And that they want to be fucking big men, man. They're pricks. They're just as simple as that. They're pricks.
The thing is, it's easy to get the Golovkin fanboys to bite with Canelo rants and stuff like that, because Golovkin fanboys have turned into, they were like Floyd fanboys. They were like, they'll defend the man no matter what. You can't say anything. I mean, even if you say you think Canelo would beat Golovkin, you just seem to get abuse or whatever. And now I've seen them hyping up Danny Jacobs as world class, and it's a great fight, just like they did with that idiot David Lemieux. And he's, let's call it for what it is. We want to see Golovkin.
I had a guy emailing me yesterday about fucking that Prosca and all that. Fuck me, man. See, Triple G fans, they're weirdos. That's exactly what they are, man. They can't take any negativity. He should have fought Andre Ward. He asked for a catch weight of 164, or his team did. His team represent him, so he's basically to blame. He should have fought Andre Ward. He should have fought Lara. They complained about nobody wanting to fight them. That's 2 guys right there that would have fought him. The drop of a hat. Canelo's offered him $10 million. That's by far his biggest payday. He should fucking take it. He needs a credible win. He's nearly 35 years old.
But Canelo's still a faggot, like.
Most definitely.
Look, Canelo's bullshit. There's nobody blameless, but there is a legitimate offer on the table for him to fight. He should fucking take that. He needs an elite win. He needs that Canelo fight. Honestly, he's in danger of retiring with a fucking big name on his ledger.
Yeah, Kurt, this is the perfect opportunity then to talk about Canelo against Chavez Jr. Isn't it May the 6th, pay-per-view, £164.5? Is that some kind of sick joke, or is that actually happening?
That sounds like a fucking Mexican radio station for fucking cowards, by the way.
What's that?
164.5. 164.5 FM, and Canelo is still a faggot, and Chavez will not make weight even if he had fucking AIDS.
But apparently they've put a fucking $1 million penalty on every pound Chavez comes in overweight, so he's going to be about 10 million in the shit.
That's
already.
ridiculous.
Chavez is going to be that into his own bank account to fucking after this
He's
fight.
going to be owing. He's going to be owing Canelo money.
Chavez will be doing a fucking Stevenson by the way, pimping out his fucking missus.
You need a Frank Maloney and cut his dick off and his balls now to make that way. Fucking hell, man.
There's going to have to be some scale tampering as well. I mean,
shit.
He weighed in like 168 for his last fight, and he just looked ill. He just looked terrible. So, I mean, this is horrible. I mean, Canelo's going to beat him up, isn't he? Let's be honest. This is another easy cash grab for. I mean, you can understand as much as it pissed you off. You can understand why they've made this fight. I mean, they said that I think Canelo's. Yeah, the money that's going to come in, Mexican fans are going to be all over it. I think he's responsible for like 96% of Golden Boy's income last year. They don't want him losing anytime soon, and he's not going to lose this fight, is he? And I think if he fights Golovkin after this, then fair enough. But it's just hard to see, but if it happens or not, because there's so many egos involved. But if you just take all the bullshit aside, I actually think this will be a fun fight to watch. To be honest, I think it'll be fun.
If Chavez somehow beats him in like the early rounds, uses his size, I would actually have to become a fan of that fat stoner.
I mean, he's going to price. Dave, will you have to pay for a pay-per-view? Sorry to interrupt you, Kurt. What's the pricing of the pay-per-view going to be?
If it's pay-per-view, it's going to be $60 again, isn't it? I'm not buying it. It'll probably $70 for HD.
Is all the pay-per-views in America no $100 now?
I think they'd actually dropped I'm sure they dropped the price for one of these pay-per-views over the Cotto one. But anyway, this HBO, they've actually got 3 shows lined up, right? 3 of which are actually fucking pay-per-view, and one's a regular one. I forget who the regular show is again. Oh, fuck.
It's Cotto's pay-per-view, isn't it?
Cotto's pay-per-view, aye.
Peter Nelson needs to pull his finger out of his hole, Andy. I've been critical of him recently. I mean, at the end of last year, he picked it up a bit, but I think a couple of the fights, weren't they put on because Canelo wasn't fighting and it freed up the budget? This Nelson guy is going to have to do something pretty spectacular to win me over.
Well, people are saying, I think it was Lance Pugmire was saying, is that he's the one that apparently gets all the credit or getting most of the credit for making that fight happen. Jacobs against Golovkin. He was the one that pushed it through. So, I don't know. I mean, the thing is, people are getting really kind of like really up for this fucking Golovkin Jacobs fight. It's a fucking shit fight, man. I mean, come on, let's be honest about it. Say that. Well, I think we discussed it last week. I don't want to get back in it again. I mean, Jacobs, he's got a bit of glass, right? At the same time, he's got a bit of power, but at the same time, he's never fought anybody like Golovkin with his style, with his pressure that he puts on. I mean, that guy makes you work even when he's not even throwing punches at you. That's how fucking bad it can be. I wish Pirog hadn't been injured because I like to have seen that maybe I'd love to have seen how his career would have went just on the off chance he wouldn't be like a one-hit wonder. So it's a shame that way actually, because I'd like to have seen how he'd have went, because people look at that performance and say, oh, it's a one-off, and what did he do afterwards and all that sort of shit. So it's a shame. But Jacobs at the same time, I know he's a nice guy and all that sort of stuff, but at the same time, nice guys are not going to win this fucking type of fight with Golovkin, man. He's getting ruined.
And this fight being
my lasting memory of Danny Jacobs, it's not going to be getting knocked out for Pirog. Did anybody ever see the Ishii Smith fight?
Aye.
He got rocked a couple of times off Ishii Smith. That's my lasting memory of Manny. He's going to get fucking
as well.
Aye, did Mora not put him down?
Yeah, put him down.
Mora dropped him, didn't he?
Aye.
Aye, that's smart. This will be a destruction. This is another run of the mill opponent, another run of the mill win for Golovkin. But Danny Jacobs a nice guy, man. But this isn't a good fight for Golovkin.
But what I think this fight shows is that all the bullshit and all the fans who say, we can't fight this guy, they can't fight this because of Al Heyman or politics, this fight proves that the fights can be made. So there's no excuse, We know that there's all politics, there's different TV networks, different promoters. But this fight being made has shown if they really want it, the fighters both want it, that it can happen. Danny Jacobs has said he's not scared of Golovkin. He wants to fight. He wants to payday. He wants, the big event type feel, and he's gone in for that fight. And I think he's a nice guy. And for him, I think he's got power. He's shown that in his whole career, and he's shown that against Peter Quillin. You can say what you want about Quillin, but no one expected him to bang him out like that in the first round. And if I was Danny Jacobs and I was looking at that Cal Brook fight, if I was him, I'd fancy my chances of just going in there and just looking to land his bum, because if he just tries to be cautious or try and outbox him, he's just gonna get chin checked. He's gonna be gone. So he needs to believe in his power, and he needs to go for it, I think, because one thing you can't say about Golovkin is he's a good defensive fighter. He's a guy who believes in his own chin, and he's happy to take a punch to get his off. So if you're Danny Jacobs, you've got to look to do that. And if Golovkin chooses to fight him like he fought Lemieux when he was a bit cautious of Lemieux's power, then it's hard to see how Jacobs has a chance. But if Golovkin goes in there and fights the way he did Cal, then at least Jacobs will have something to hit. And who knows? You can't see it happening, but Jacobs is a big puncher. I know that.
I think that, as strange as this might sound, this could be one of those fights where it might go the distance. I could see Golovkin winning this one on points. I actually don't think it's too bad of a fight relative for Golovkin's career, because at the moment he's in serious danger of stagnating, I think. And the fact he's fighting Jacobs, it could have been worse. Hater Dave, that's what I'm looking at. You're looking at Wade, Toriano Johnson, all these Egypts wandering about. It could have been worse, man.
I think that's a crazy pick, though, that this goes the distance.
I'm crazy, man. I don't think it's crazy shit.
Yes, we know. I don't think it's that. Yeah, I do agree with you. I don't think it's that bad of a fight. It's better than Canelo Chavez, because at least Jacobs has done something reasonably recently at middleweight, but it's still pretty bad. Yeah.
Is this pay-per-view in the States? It is, isn't it?
No idea, but it's disgraceful if so.
Yeah, I think it is.
But the Canelo fight?
No, Golovkin Jacobs pay-per-view, isn't it?
It's pay-per-view.
It seems to be happening. What's happening here? Any good fight now, or what would have been seen as a decent fight a few years back, is now pay-per-view, and we get it over here as well. But it seems to be happening in the States. I mean, Golovkin Jacobs is a good fight. Jacobs is highly rated in the middleweights, but is it a pay-per-view fight? I mean, probably they've had to pay him a lot of money, maybe like Lemieux, but it just doesn't really. Again, is it going to bomb again? I know Golovkin got a lot of buzz around him, but as the Lemieux pay-per-view showed, fans didn't really buy that, and I'm not sure that this fight is going to be seen as much better, to be honest.
It's going to appeal to casual fans, though. It's going to be like probably a brief war with a knockout at the end of it. So I'm thinking it should be on This is made for PBC. It should be PBC. Get some more fans interested.
Do you think the fans will start to get Golovkin fatigue soon? The way they love the Rubio fight, and it was all great, but even the way sort of people are getting fed up with AJ's level of opponents. I know, comparatively speaking, you can't say, Eric Molina, Daniel Jacobs, obviously weights apart. There's a disparity in class. But do you think people will start to get a bit fed up with Golovkin and go, I'm not as high on him as I was unless he starts fighting Canelo and all these guys? I take that as a no.
I mean, I'll answer. I don't think so. I think Golovkin's got the media on his side. I think the American media, even the bloggers, they all love him. And when that's the case, when you got Fat Dan, Steve Kim.
He loves himself some Golovkin, Steve Kim.
Yeah, when you got them, licking your ass no matter what you do. I mean, I think he's fine, and let's be honest, that's a good place to be for him, because he's getting all the media attention. No blame is on him or his team at all. He's in one of those positions where no matter who he fights, there's always an excuse made. He's only fight. When he fought Cal Brook, for instance, no one else wants to fight him. I mean, I refuse to believe that no one at 160 or 154 or 168 wanted to fight him, and it was only Cal Brook who had the balls to step forward. But that's the excuse, and that's, like I said, the media, in America have a lot of power, it seems. Guys like Rigondeaux, we all saw what Fat Dan did to him after the Dare fight. It basically killed his career over there. But when the media are on your side, it's a great thing, and so it's good for him in the sport of boxing. Like I said, we all like Golovkin. We've all rooted for him in the past and wanted to see him get the big fights. But after so many times now, you're still seeing these same kind of fights. You just wonder, well, if HBO are so on board him, all the fans are coming out to see him, why can't they make the really big fights? Some fighters clearly don't want to fight him, but surely they can do better. And Jacobs' fight is a good fight, so let's hope they can continue that and not go back down to the fights that we just don't care about.
But Kurt, if he don't fight Canelo after Jacobs, he's going to have to go back to those fights that you mentioned, because after Jacobs, Billy Joe Saunders don't want it. What else is there? Unless people start jumping weights or he starts jumping weights. The problem is having the media on side. Yeah, fair play, but having the media on side isn't making him any younger, and it certainly ain't making him rich.
Right, back to reality. Smido, don't mute yourself too quickly. I've got a question for you here from Craig Mastro Totaro. He says, who would you choose to promote you out of these three esteemed promotional outfits? Fighting Chance Promotions, Dennis Hobson, or the Salter Brothers? I'm going to throw in a fourth, Eubank Promotions.
Well, I don't know who half of them are. I'll just vote for Eubanks for comedy value.
Eubanks because you would be taught the Warrior Code.
Yeah.
Eubank update, actually. It's still on pay-per-view. Is it going to be $9.99? I read somewhere.
Is it? I mean, listen, anybody that pays for it, I actually want them to step forward and just be honest with yourselves. Just look yourself in the mirror and say, listen, I need help.
Is it not a tenner if you order it new and it goes up to 15 or something?
Yeah, I think that's advanced prices. Yeah, so they're letting us have it. They're at the goodness of their hearts. They're letting us have it for £10 if we get it now, and if we leave it to the night of the fight, we'll have to pay £20. So fans better hurry up because there's going to be a rush to get them pay-per-view buys, isn't there?
You must understand. Junior is a product. He is a product.
I actually watched that Coogan interview for the first time actually the other night.
I watched it the other day. It was funny, wasn't
it? He got asked a question, right, and he had this long pause.
Silence.
It was like a minute, and he's looking about, and it's like you can just see he's trying to think of some smart word to put in there before he could actually fucking start talking. Absolute mess. I mean, he's
punch drunk. He's fucking punch drunk, man. He's took too many big shots. Like, he was never too clever back in the day either, but it was actually quite funny. But see now, man, he's punch drunk, man. I don't know what you don't know what his son's actually thinking about letting that punch drunk bastard manage his career, man. Fucking hell.
I think it's an obvious case of Junior just knows that his dad is mentally ill and he just doesn't want to fucking hurt his feelings by going against him. Senior's just he's got a screw loose. He's absolutely
he fucking sold him back in the day for fuck's sake, didn't he?
He sold him.
Sold the two brothers. Fucking hell, man.
But here, what about the undercard? The undercard's shaping up reasonably nicely. David Price against Christian Hammer. Adam Etchers against John Ryder. I take it Ryder's been slung off from Matchroom, then.
Yeah, it's a good, decent fight, that is.
Aye. I think Ryder will do it.
It's a sad state of affairs when you say that Hammer's a step up for David Price, but he is. I mean, to go from the fat garbage collectors he's been fighting, but Hammer's, listen, Price should bang him out quickly. I mean, let's be honest, and then he'll carry on screaming for a title shot, whatever. But at least you've seen Price with someone we actually, have heard of. But I don't know what they're doing. Are they putting all these fights on I224? Then the main event is pay-per-view only because we have to pay to see that shit. I mean, I don't know. He's going to bum in it. I just hope they release the figure so we all can just troll Eubank on Twitter and just see what he says.
Why couldn't they just charge like $1 for it?
Here, Dave, if Hammer beats Price, what odds we might see Hammer getting himself into a title shot of some description?
Oh, I'm sure he will. I mean, Hammer was the guy, wasn't he? The fight right before Fury took Vlad. Yeah. So
yes.
Yeah. So he's if Price beats him, if Price does beat him, he's on to Vlad. If Hammer wins, he's probably on to some. I don't know. He probably remains a gatekeeper actually. Maybe a regular WBA belt is in his future. But it's good.
Tell you what, sorry, mate, carry on.
It's good matchmaking by Price's team because Hammer doesn't really have that big of a punch. So I think it's smart.
That Hammer is absolutely fucking garbage, man. See that fight with Taper? I cannot believe Taper lost that fight, but he came in like a blimp as well, didn't he? He's fat as fuck, yeah.
He came in off the juice and on the kebabs, didn't he? Let's be fair.
He did, man.
He was massive. He was as wide as he was tall.
Some of his fights in that, especially Euro fights in that, were on Eurosport. Fucking, they got they were in the kind of shitty kind of like wee arenas and fucking places like in what do you call them again? Up kind of north of Germany. What's that fucking port town called near Hamburg? Oh fuck! I forget it anyway. It doesn't matter.
Ludwigsburg MHP Arena.
Oh fucking!
I've got my box right just now.
What's the name of that place in Hamburg?
The East Germany canteen.
It's actually annoying when they actually name that tune. I need to go and find it out.
No, but
for this... Taper or Hammer?
Hammer, mate.
Wait there. I'm on box right now.
Like you jump in while he's box wrecking.
Yeah, I mean...
The Universal Hall. Oh, that's Berlin.
No.
Fuck knows.
Just
Right,
rhyme out all the
supplement
cities.
G18 Halle, the G18 Halle, Wilhelmsburg, Hamburg, Germany.
Nah, there wasn't that one.
Fucking Munich beer hall.
Oh, for fuck's sake. He's only fought in Hamburg once.
Right, I'll find it. This fucking annoying me.
Paul Bramkamp von Hamburg. Okay.
Right, Tommy, you enjoy yourself over there. Moving on to another question here from Geordie McDonough. Smitho, you're back on the call with us. That's excellent news. 15th of April, Saturday, the SSE Hydro. We have Ricky Burns against Julius Ndongo. Geordie McDonough's asked Smitho, if Burns beats Ndongo, will Eddie try to make the Crawford fight in the UK and possibly on pay-per-view? Pay-per-view does seem crazy, but considering all the marbles, # will be on the line, could he justify it?
Cuxhaven, that was the name of the place.
No, I think that's miles off. I can't see Crawford coming over here. Crawford's making some waves over in is it Omaha? He's selling out arenas for the first time ever. I think boxing's there properly for the first time in years. Eddie has talked about the Crawford fight, but I think he wants Broner. I think Broner's the one because Broner's beatable, and I might be wrong, but I think he holds one of them bloody crap titles. So I think Broner's the one for that. Crawford will just beat Burns again. I don't want to see that.
Adam, they've been talking about Burns fighting Broner for ages, but it's never been got over the line. If Burns beats Ndongo and has 2 bits of bling, do you think that'll invite AB over?
3.
Yeah, in short, possibly, yeah. But there's a lot gone on since the conversation first started about Broner. He was probably unbeaten when it first started. I think he's lost twice, has he, or once? I can't even keep up with Broner. I don't really care. But yeah, there's a lot gone on with Broner since then. He's not a bigger star as what he thought he would be. I think I think Broner's actually an easier sell than Crawford because if Broner's got a trinket, he's got a mouth, and like I say, it's winnable.
Andy, regarding Ndongo himself, are they looking at this and saying he knocked out Troinovsky, 1-punch knockout, Burns will beat him? Are they gambling on that?
Potential.
It's not an easy fight.
What's that?
It's not an easy fight, this for Burns, no way.
No. I mean, you probably say Burns is definitely on the downslide of his career. This guy's probably in his physical peak at the minute, so it'll be a tough fight. These guys generally are. Probably maybe watch a bit more tape on it, but you would think, being in Glasgow and stuff, know what the Glaswegians are like, you can't get out alive unless you fucking give Burns the decision, like, so.
Ricky, this guy should win.
I'm going to back a draw though. I'm going to back a draw though, mate, and maybe put a $5 on Ndongo and a $10 on Ricky Burns, just cover all my bases and that,
Well, you can back the draw at 33-1, Andrew. Ricky Burns is 4-11, and Julius Ndongo is 2-1, so it's reasonably close with the bookmakers.
I think.
Yeah, I'm sorry, Kurt.
I think you got to go with Ricky Burns in this fight. I mean, this guy, he's fought his whole career in the Windhoek Country Club Resort in Namibia. And then he's had 5 seconds of success. Now, don't get me wrong, that was a huge upset in Russia, massive upset. But, it was 1 punch. That's all he's ever done his whole career, just 1 punch. And now he's got this title. But Ricky Burns, he's on the downside, but he's tried and tested. We know he can go the rounds. He's fit, home crowd. He's going to be up for it. This guy, we know he looks like he's got a punch, but that's all he's ever shown. We know he's going to be tough. These guys always are, but I don't think that's going to really bother Ricky Burns. I think a slick fighter or a really talented boxer, they're going to trouble Ricky Burns now. I think a guy who isn't used to going around and isn't used to this atmosphere, I just think Burns on points is the bet. I think this guy might hurt Burns early, but I think he'll get through it and win the fight on points. I just think we haven't seen enough from this guy. Although it was a huge upset, it wasn't like he was, in a few rounds. It was just 1 quick punch and that was it. Look at Brady's Prescott when he knocked out Amir Khan. He was never a good fighter, but he just done 1 punch and that catapulted him to a few fights. And this guy might live off that for a few fights as well.
I think the thing is too that Ricky didn't look great in his last fight against that Relic, did he? I think he's definitely on the slide. But as you say, there's one thing: Ricky Burns is tough. He's not going to get knocked out, and he's going to be there. He's going to be there for 12 rounds. So you never know what could happen. But I quite like Ndongo. I thought the way he set that left hand, that was brilliant, especially with his feet and that, the way he go into position and he landed it. It was a really, really good shot.
Press row, mate.
I'm going VIP, man. VIP champion reception.
We'll go VIP then. Just we better ask Shep for that £200 that he made, by the way. See, he's a wee sub, you know, because mate, see, in the day, you're only a brickie. You're no universally educated, are you?
That's it, mate. I just work on a building site, eh? That's it.
Aye. You do a kin fuck all.
Aye. You see the nick of that cunt? You see the nick of that cunt suit in that picture earlier on? Fuck me, man. You need to invest in some better garms, eh? Jesus, fuck. That's definitely that's a favourite of Dr. Bernardo's, that fucking suit anyway, wasn't it?
Right, shut up, Tommy. Let's move on to the next question here. It's a question from Rocco about the Rocky films. I don't know anything about the Rocky films, really, to be honest, so I'm going to throw it out to anyone who wants to answer this.
I know
it's the 40th anniversary of the first Rocky film this year, so why don't you discuss the start of the greatest boxing film series? Find out what everyone rates as their favourite Rocky film and everyone's favourite piece of music from the films. Anyone want to comment on this?
Mine's is probably Rocky 2, Rocky 3, and the song probably see when Adrian wakes up for the coma after giving birth to the kid and that, and fucking Meet Me Mickey shouts, "What are we waiting for? Take us!" And just fucking that fucking tune starts off with that. I'm like, I fucking have some of that, baby.
Rocky 3 is going to be good. That's going to be king, man. Mr. T was awesome with that. Hey woman, that was great to start it. We'll come home with a real man.
Mr. T killed fucking Mickey.
I know, man.
Should I be fool?
I actually thought they were all good. I even liked Rocky 5 with Tolly Morrison in it. It was just
Rocky 5 was shit, man.
I thought it was alright, man. It was just good as the rest of them.
Fucking George Washington Duke. I mean, fucking hell. Could you get a fucking guy who looked anyway like Don King if you tried?
Shout out to Al Bernstein was in that as well, wasn't he?
Aye.
That was good. Hey, I'll tell you what did you think of Rocky Balboa, the one with Tarver? I thought that was pretty good.
It was alright, but there's no fucking way.
I like that one.
The first year was good too with Drago, and that was good too.
Aye, that was alright. I'm trying to remember the Rocky Balboa one actually.
Yeah, I've seen Creed. Does that count?
I've seen that as well.
Creed was good. Aye, Creed was good. I liked that.
The fights were
Dave,
damn
you're
good.
you're a filmmaker. What do you think about the cinematic production values?
Cinematically, I'd have to say Rocky 1 is probably the best. That's why it won Best Picture. Although, I mean, I shouldn't say that because I hate the Oscars and I hate the idea of it. But my personal favorite is also Rocky 3. It's got to be the most entertaining. You got that Hulk Hogan wrestling scene in there too. And my favorite piece of music is in the fight at the end of that, when it just like it raises up when he just starts like it's actually sort of I think they deliberately did this. Mr. T Clubber plays like a George Foreman type of character, and Rocky's original style was a bit like Frazier, because of course Apollo Creed was supposed to be Ali. So basically,
it was based on Ali and Wepner, wasn't it? Chuck Wepner.
Yeah. Rocky 3, but also Rocky was based on Joe Frazier in many ways too, because of Philadelphia and then like hitting the meat and that. In that movie, he basically gets flattened like Frazier did by Foreman in the first fight, and then he learns how to actually box because he never did, and then he like rope-a-dopes him. So it's sort of like the whole Ali Foreman trilogy in one movie.
But Dave, you're from Philadelphia, aren't you?
No, not from there, but not too far.
What do fight fans feel about there's a statue of Rocky Balboa in Philadelphia, and there isn't one for like Joe Frazier or any other of the great Philly fighters over the years?
There is
Matthew Said Muhammad.
Yeah, there should be one of him too. There is finally a Frazier statue though, which is it's a pretty good one too. It's way better than that.
Danny Garcia statue, no?
I want a statue of Eddie Hearn outside the O2.
Angel Garcia, there has to be a statue of him.
Snorting coke off a stripper.
All right, any more
There's a picture floating around Twitter the other day, right? It was captured to the news in Philadelphia saying happy birthday to Joe Frazier. Didn't get it passed away, eh? That's fucking disrespectful as fuck, man. Jesus Christ.
That's value of the century.
Oh,
we've got value of the week coming up later on, guys. That's going to be the very final.
No, we've got the winner of that.
We're rocking on time, Smido. Hold your ball, Smido. We're rocking on time. We're going to be getting to that very shortly. The pod is almost expiring. Last few questions or talking points, Nuthouse notes, as I just called them there now. Nick Blackwell update. Apparently he can't walk at the moment. His trainer, Liam Wilkins, and another guy light heavyweight Hassan Kakadi have both been suspended. I don't think Wilkins will ever have a British Boxing Board license again. Kakadi has been momentarily suspended. It's sad for Blackwell. He's had part of his skull removed, I think, to relieve some kind of pressure. I don't know if anyone wants to speak about this, but I mean, it's just such a sad tale.
Silly boy. I mean, I don't know how this all come about. You know, maybe he felt great, maybe he didn't. He didn't fuck about with the brain, man. I mean, it's the last frontier. You just don't know what goes on in there. You know, but yeah, I think the board have made the right move. See, to be honest, see if he'd actually died, they should have been in the fucking jail. To be honest, it should maybe even be charged still, actually, because it was. I mean, to do something like that, just to fucking, you know, the guy has been fucking in a coma. How long was he in a coma for? 2-3 weeks, maybe slightly longer.
Couple of weeks, 2 or 3 weeks anyway, wasn't it?
I mean, the fight isn't even a year old, and he's back in the ring sparring with a light heavyweight, no fucking less. So a light heavyweight, and he's a fucking middleweight.
I mean,
fucking idiot.
We know that these boxers, a lot of them just can't let go, and especially got ones who have had their careers finish early, you know, or abruptly because of an injury or something. And he's obviously, you know, the buzz is still there. He still wants to do it. But these guys, I mean, you got to say, you know, no. And how can they live with themselves, do that? I mean, what if someone fucking wheeled in Gerald McClellan? Would they fucking punch his head in? I mean, come on, you got to have some fucking morals, you know what I'm saying?
Exactly, man. It's just no excuse for that. The guys are banned. They should both be banned for life. There's absolutely no excuse for that. That's disgusting.
Back to more exciting. Back to other things, Tommy. Saturday the 25th of March, Manchester Arena. Jorge Linares is returning with his WBA belt of some description or another against Anthony Crolla. Martin J. Ward is fighting a rematch with Matty Hughes in the undercard. Are you one of these guys who think that Linares won wide and don't understand why there's a rematch, or do you think it was close enough to warrant this BoxRec 5 stars return?
It's the lineal title. I
thought that was quite clear that Linares won the fight, but I enjoyed the fight. They're both getting paid again. I've actually no problem with seeing that fight again. I'm a big Crolla fan as well, so I didn't mind seeing him getting a crack at the title again. I'm not sure he won. I don't think he'll win the fight. I think it'll just be pretty much along the same lines, but I didn't really have a big problem with the rematch. I enjoyed the first fight, so let's see it again.
I had the first fight 8-4 to Linares. I quite enjoyed Linares. I think he's a very classy operator. I really enjoy watching him, and I'm hoping to attend the fight this time round. So yeah, looking forward to it.
Do you know a fight that I would like to see way down the line? Linares against Lomachenko, I think would be a good fight, you know.
Definitely.
Lomachenko will bust him up though. He's, you know,
too quick. You just wonder, you probably just kind of like burst his face up, slash it to bits, you know, with all the welts and stuff.
Yeah. Technically, though, Andy, for the first 3 or 4 rounds, it might be interesting with the speed going back and forward before Lomachenko takes over. It
should be good. It should be good. I mean, the one thing I always rate about Linares is his footwork and his balance. It's fucking exceptional, eh? But he's at that point now. I think he is fragile. There's no question about it. But he's getting older now. I just can't see what Crolla can do any better to actually even narrow the scorecards a wee bit. I'm no big on the rematch, but at the end of the day, it's for a lineal title, so it's just basically Linares gets his chance to kind of seal the deal and cement it. I mean, everybody says he's de facto number 1, so this is his chance to finally kind of cement it. I mean, okay, he cemented it after the first fight, we know that, but until you've got all these belts either around one person's waist or basically someone picks up the ring title, you're still going to have this kind of like fractured world champion status. So at least we get a clear number 1 now after this fight.
I mean,
I'll tell you what, man. I'm really glad that Mikey Garcia's back in the mix. He's back in the mix at lightweight. That's going to be a good fight with Zlatan. I expect Mikey to beat him. I think Mikey looked good in that fight. I really, really want to see Garcia prove his skill big at lightweight, and maybe get the Lomachenko fight. I think Garcia would beat Linares. To be honest,
I can see someone taking a big L, by the way, if fucking Garcia loses to Zlatan.
I mean, I must be in the minority because I got no problem with the Crolla rematch against Linares, even though I thought Linares won well in the end.
Agreed.
He's a fighter who is really vulnerable, and he looks always. He's a bit got the Amir Khan about him. It doesn't matter who he fights and how good he's looking. You can always sense that he's one punch away from being in trouble, and I got no problem with it. I think the first fight was really good. Crolla, when he fought that guy who he won the fight title off, when he drew with him, in the rematch, he was much improved. And I think he thought he could hurt Linares because we all know Linares is shaky and he couldn't really hurt him. So maybe now you'll focus more on the body and try and slow him down a bit. But personally, I think Linares will win, but it wouldn't really surprise me to see Crolla somehow get the win because, like I said, Linares at his best, he's brilliant, but he's very, very vulnerable. And, he's shown that many times, although, he should be too good for Crolla like he was the first time. But, we saw him against Kevin Mitchell. I thought that was a close fight until the end. And he should have been well better than a past-it Kevin Mitchell. But, Linares, he can be hot and cold, and Crolla will be up for it again. And although I expect him to win, I've got no problem with it. What would we rather see? Crolla against some pregnant Latvian? It's a good fight.
Yeah.
Hey, today, final comment to you on Crolla Linares, if you have any interest before we go to our final talking point.
Is this next week?
No.
No, it's just I'm just brought it up because it had been
okay. Well,
25th.
Yeah, no problem with it. It should be similar to the last fight, but the last fight wasn't bad. It was good. It was competitive, and there were moments of success for Crolla where it looked like he was getting to Linares. He didn't really stagger him or anything, but he had him worried, I think. So, yeah, it should be good.
Okay, final thing from me before we move on to Bellew of the Week. Sunday, 23rd of April, Manny Pacquiao is starting a world tour, I think, to line the coffers, get Bob Allen a bit of money. He's fighting Jeff Horn in Australia, pending approval, according to BoxRec. I heard universal size. Is no one else feeling this?
No, mate, but I'll tell you one thing. I know they're trying to get the fight in Australia, but again, Duco Promotions, like they did with the Joseph Parker fight, trying to get money from the New Zealand government, they're also now trying to speak to, I forget where Horn's phase at Brisbane or something like that. They're trying to speak to local authorities there for help for financing this fucking shit. And you can guarantee, I can't see an American site when to pick this one up.
I'm not interested to see Pacquiao unless against Terence Crawford.
Yeah.
See, at the same time as I understand why people want to shit on it, but at the same time as you got to kind of watch the guy because he is a great fighter and he is an ATG, that sort of stuff.
Great, of course it is.
People say the same about Floyd as well, even though he was fighting Andre Berto. So it doesn't matter. He's a great fighter. He's an ATG, so we need to watch him. So it's just that is what it is.
It's.
Be honest, is it too much to say that it would, for a guy who carried the sport on his back for a fair bit, he's entitled to his pension tour. I mean, Ali had his pension tour, Ray Robinson had his pension tour. So
yeah, where's the next up of his pension store? Glasgow.
What's that?
Where's the second?
The hydro against Ricky Burns.
Yeah, that's what I'm saying. I'm not interested in seeing Pacquiao fight this Jeff Horn. I honestly don't care, but. They can get away with it because, like you say, he's got the name and he'll earn himself a few quid, but he'll come unstuck on one of them if he keeps going. He'll come unstuck and then So imagine if this is Pacquiao's last fight, right? I'm not saying it will be, but imagine if it is. We're going to have Floyd and Pacquiao, as we've said, all-time greats, and the two last fights are going to be Andre Berto and someone like, if not, Jeff Horn. I mean, it's shit.
But it clearly shows that someone like Pacquiao, I think, knows that his money's going to be running out and he needs to keep fighting. And for a guy who's been fighting for so many years and moved up all these weights, been badly knocked out, a few years ago as well, he, unlike Floyd, who seemed to get out when he wanted, Pacquiao's not going to be. He's going to be shoved out and he's going to be brutally knocked out of this sport probably when he carries on because he's going to get caught by someone. I mean, if he fought Terence Crawford, he wouldn't shock anyone to see Crawford beat him, because obviously he's the fresh of the two and he's coming up a very talented guy. But he looks like he's going to, make a few of these crap fights, maybe make him, and then he's probably going to go out. Pacquiao's shown it before. He'll fight the best and he'll probably fight Crawford or fight a good fight, lose, and that'll be it for him, hopefully. But this fight, I've got no real interest in. I mean, there's all these names he could fight a welterweight, and it's not good to see this guy. It's just, and no one will care about it. That's a sad thing because very rarely you can say that about Manny Pacquiao, that he's fighting and you don't really care because he's given so much to sport, such a great fighter, and it's just not. I mean, it's great for the people of Australia who'll be able to see a legend of the sport, but for the fans everywhere else, it's not a really big thing.
It's a boring opponent and all, and I might not even watch the fight live, but I'm kind of glad that it's happening just because the Guardian got triggered because they're like, oh, this is a blow against homosexual rights, allowing Pacquiao to fight in Australia or something.
What?
They wrote an article about like
The Aussies didn't give a fuck about that type of shit, man.
you'd think Aussies are pretty laid back, but like the politics, I guess, are like bandwagoners who jump on these PC issues.
Possibly, but if some of what the Australians do with the people, the visitors to the country and that, they don't fuck about it. If I remember, I went out to Perth about 15 years ago, and the week before I went out, it was just no long before the second Iraq war, and apparently some Iraqis trying to get into Australia in a fucking rubber dinghy, and they sent out a fucking Australian destroyer and started firing star shells out of the fucking thing. They weren't fucking about.
Isn't the Guardian a British publication?
Yeah, it's a left-leaning British newspaper. Bullshit.
It's just an author trying to create a bit of buzz and try and get create a bit of controversy. I don't think anyone in Australia gives a rat's ass about it. To be honest, they don't give a shit. They'll be happy to see Pacquiao. They've been trying to get boxing going. They've had their Danny Green Monday, and they're trying to get boxing bigger. And to have someone like Pacquiao in the country, we all say it's a shit fight, but listen, we'd love to see Pacquiao over here fighting against Cal Brook or someone like that.
How good your commentary got to be in this fight, Kurt?
Yeah.
You remember the Roy Jones and that, to be a legend.
Which legend are they going to have on the Australian commentary? That's what I want to know.
It's going to be brutal.
Probably.
No.
Is Horn any good or anything? Has anybody seen it? He fought recently, didn't he?
He's decent. I watched him on the undercard, and I seen him against Randall Bailey as well. He's decent. He's not going to pose Pacquiao any problems at all, but he's not a complete mug.
This was a guy who actually sparred a light heavyweight and got his fucking throat broken. The fucking guy, I think he's got a metal plate in his throat, I'm sure.
Like me, wasn't in Nick Blackwell's gym, was he? What the hell
Is this Australian fight actually made with Danny Green and fucking what's his name? Mundine.
Early February, I think the fight.
Holy shit.
Early February.
Fucking hell, man.
Who's that?
Danny Green.
Yeah, I mean,
Mundine too.
If we think Pacquiao Horn's a super fight, wait till you see Green Mundine too. That's good. That's the Pacquiao Mayweather of its Australian generation.
I know it's not popular to say this, but Mundine schooled Green's ass in the first fight. I mean, he made a mug of him.
He did.
Well, I just want to know what weight is this fight going to be taking place at? I mean, because Danny Green, I mean, he's been at cruiserweight, hasn't he, for how many years now? And he's been retired. He's come back. I mean, what weight are we even talking? Is it like Danny can come in?
We're talking about 180. I'm not exactly sure what weight. I remember we were talking about 180 in the past. I'm not sure what it is now. Maybe somebody in the chat could let us know what weight it's at.
Yeah, I mean,
it's actually 182. I think it's like 86 kilos. I think maybe higher than that. I can't mind.
177 and a quarter.
Yeah, I mean, this is a guy who in Mundine, it was like put down about 5 times against Josh Clotty. I mean, and now he's fighting at this ridiculous weight. I know it's Danny Green, but it's obviously one of these circus act events where the Aussies think it's absolutely fantastic. The rest of the world laughs, but we'll all watch it and probably have a good laugh at the commentary. So,
will the winner be on the front of that magazine saying they should fight Andre Ward or someone like that?
No, it'll be Anthony Joshua now because these will be like nearing 200-pound weight now.
Mundine has had some longevity. Love him or hate him, the guy come from rugby league, and to still be fighting now at any reasonable sort of near world level, it's remarkable, really. I mean,
and he's made ridiculous amount of money as well from the sport.
Yeah. Right, maybe I'll get nominated for Bellew of the Week for saying that next week, but you know what? Who cares? Let's move on to Bellew of the Week now before we close up. What time are we on? Let's have a look. 10 o'clock. Yep, that's perfect. Yeah. We'll get going after this. Okay, I've got about 10 or 11, and then you guys can throw in whichever ones you've got at the end. Nomination for Carl Stones. He said, DeGale overtakes Frampton as Britain's #1 pound for pound if he wins on Saturday. Hope he does it. #WarChunky. I'm not saying that that's good or bad, but Irish Boxing News has nominated Cal, so I'm going to have to put him on the list. Sorry about that, Cal.
Fucking raging.
Has nominated Trevor Sinclair, not Frank Sinclair, this is Trevor Sinclair. He says, at George Groves beats them both, i.e. DeGale and Jack. For me, talent, experience, and the tools.
He's obviously not seen the first fight.
Exactly. Liam Jordan sent this one on. He scrolled out the guy's name on Facebook, so we're going to call him Adam. Adam on Facebook. He's got a photo of himself with Anthony Crolla, and it says, not very often you meet a world champion. You may go out and look for one, Adam, I think, because... no harm to Crolla, like. Okay, Tommy Murphy, this Irish Boxing News sent this one in as well. Tommy Murphy, he said, I scored DeGale Jack a draw, Truthfully, I had DeGale up by a point going into the final round. So the friggin' hell did end up with a draw from that then?
Fucking hell.
See, you were talking about half points earlier, but people can't even get the 10-9 system right. So half points, they'd be all over the place.
And the calculator for that.
Declan Graffin sent in another one for Guerrilla Productions. What a fight. I had Badou Jack the winner, 8 rounds to 4. I began crediting his bodywork as early as rounds 2 and 3. Each their own, I think, Declan. I wouldn't say I was too far off actually seeing that myself, but you've nominated him for Value of the Week, so Guerrilla Productions shall go on the list. Triple Stee has nominated you, Hater Dave Lowback. Hater Dave apparently said to his millions of Twitter followers, by the way, there are a ton of British DeGale nut huggers in the Barclays that can't score for shit and are booing Floyd's truth bombs.
I stand by that. It was weird. The crowd was actually pro DeGale. There was a bunch down in like the ringside money contingent that were cheering for Badou, and there were a couple Swedes waving the flag, but it was mostly the Gale crowd.
Michael Gearty says there's a strong case for the Value of the Week to be renamed, maybe as the Eubank of the Week, because the Eubanks have dropped another one in here. Chris Eubank Jr. says, after I become IBO Super Middleweight Champion of the World on February the 4th, I'm coming for James DeGale, # taking all the belts. DeGale probably wouldn't shit on his belt, would he?
No.
I'd love DeGale to win and do a Riddick bar and just dump it in the trash can.
Aye, that's what Johnny Nelson did, though. Do you remember punches from the past? After Nelson won the IBO title off Ezra Sellers, he dumped it. He said he didn't want to hold it and gave it up.
If the belt's not good enough for Johnny Nelson, it means it's shit.
Former WBO and WBU champion, maybe at one point, Johnny Nelson there. Right, Joe O'Neill, friend of mine. Joe, how you doing? Fighters Rated said, scored the first round even in degale-jack, as I felt Jack won it, but the knockdown. I scored it 6-5 to Jack, so I had Jack, but can see a draw also. Joe took exception to this, so he's added in Fighters Rated for that one. Toby Hines has sent a couple into us. Floyd Mayweather in the post-fight interview. Floyd said, when I fought Oscar De La Hoya, one of the judges had him up by a unanimous decision. Poor old Floyd.
I don't like Floyd, though. He was too touchy-feely last week, not just instead of pointing, to the next pose or the next camera. He was too hands-on for me. I don't think he worked.
Who was he touching, feeling?
James DeGale.
At the weigh-in, he was like, "Oh yeah, no, we'll take your belt." Then they put a glove on. They each put a Barclays glove on. No, I don't like Floyd.
The Floyd hate from Smido there. Toby Hines also put in Callum Smith, who said in an IFL interview, "I scored it level. I thought Jack probably deserved to win."
Yeah, him school of scoring.
And finally, Paulie Malinage for calling Jeff Horn Kevin Horn. Who's Kevin Horn? A lot of people seem to be making that mistake.
I'm just going to Google that right now. Who the fuck's Kevin Horn? Must be a cartoon character.
Kevin Horn, I know that goes on the Boxing Coalition.
He's got nothing on Chris Berto.
I remember that one. Fuck me.
Yeah, but I've got one as well. Speaking of getting names, well, I've got two actually. But Showtime referring to Nick Howling as Nick Howling. I actually like that. And also, Matchroom tweeted out decisions, power nap for later, or brew the coffee. # Jack DeGale. And Danny Welch at Dano Bullet said his name is James DeGale, not Jack DeGale. So, that's a winner for me. But there you go.
Good, that is good.
I retweeted that, actually. That was fucking awesome, that one.
That's what Value of the Week was created for, Andy, wasn't it?
Exactly.
Exactly. I've got one for Carol Froch for saying Eubank would beat Golovkin. Where was... I had a couple other ones, actually. I've actually fucking misplaced them, but I'll let Tommy maybe gear up this next one, actually. I think Tommy's probably best to explain this next nominee.
Go on, Tom.
The next nominee is Andy Patterson. I'm only joking. I think we're talking about Shape for last night, where he had a bit of a nightmare and he bet on James DeGale, he bet on Badou Jack, he bet on the draw. And then after the fight, he says, "Oh, my prediction was right. I bet on the draw." What a tit. Something along the lines of that. We covered all the bases. What was his actual tweet again, Andy?
I honestly can't mind. I can't mind. I mean, I think he put a tenner on it and got something like £200 back, and apparently that's a massive profit in that. You know,
I tweeted me back saying he had a massive profit of £200, man. Well, fair play to you, shit, mate. If £200 a massive profit to you, you enjoy your rug, pal. You enjoy it. He's got to buy a rug, he said.
Didn't be better, Tommy. It's just because you still work on that building site, mate.
I know, mate. I know.
Right, any other nominations?
Aye, Dave the Hater for saying to Donny Stevenson when he says, like, hard work beats talent, and when talent fails to hard work, right? So Dave responds, skills beat talent, except when talent refuses to confront skills.
Classic hater.
That's real hate.
He deserves it. I mean, look at his resume for the past, 3 years. What a garbage dump.
Dave, you sound really clear. Where are you now?
What?
You sound really clear. Where are you now? You still on the train?
Got home. No, got home.
All right. Cool.
I had one for lace up boxing.
Scorecards. Fuck me.
I deleted it.
Yeah,
deleted it.
He's deleted it since, but he like laid out his rounds, and he gave round 9 to both DeGale and Jack, and he didn't give round 12 to anybody, and then he said I had it a draw. So
130 now.
Yeah. I also got one for this Ukrainian guy who was sitting next to me last night at the fights. He only showed up for the Kaitrov fight. In the first round, he started screaming, pulling his hair out, yelling, "Josh Glasniev!" And he was just like spinning around, and then he just like walked out with his hands over his face at the end. So it was just pretty funny.
What did they shoot?
I don't know. I don't speak Ukrainian.
What was it?
What was it shouted?
It was exactly the same thing that I just said. I don't.
Go do it again. Go shout that again. Go on.
I can't.
Sound like the fucking villain in Die Hard.
Right, okay. I'm not going through the list because I can't be bothered. I'm going to vote for that Danny Welch or whatever you call him, the Jack DeGale. I thought that was quite a good one. Smido, who are you going for?
Smido, who are you voting for?
I think
Carol Froch.
No, I'm obviously voting for Shep because he's had a mate, and Shep spent all day just trying to like defend himself and just like try and make a joke of it and saying he's a winner. No, Shep, you've had a mate. You've had an absolute nightmare, Shep. You know, you should have just followed me and backed Everton to win 4-0 at 150 to 1. I had a tenner on that.
Woo!
You need to prove that now. You need to prove that.
No, as if I did.
No, you can't prove it because if you post up your betting slips, Shep can't read betting slips. Remember what happened with Seb?
Yeah, see, I tried to talk you out of that too, didn't I?
Right,
I'm going to vote Shape too, man, because I remember this tweet he was talking about that Davis. He has no stamina. He's blah blah blah. He's basically average, and that Pedraza will beat him. He's definitely player of the week for me as well. So you can count my vote just now.
Okay,
I tell you what, he's sitting there with his fingers and his legs crossed, hoping that Garcia beats Latticana. Like,
he's a fucking casual, man. I'm telling you.
Hater.
I'm gonna have to vote for Mr. Shep as well. That was. I don't know if he meant it to be funny or not, but I don't think he really. I don't think he really delivered the joke part of it adequately.
Andrew.
Shep.
Kurt.
Didn't you think about that one? But I must admit, the one that Kurt mentioned there was pretty good as well.
Yeah, well, it looks like Shep's one, but I'll go for the Danny Welch guy because that just an absolute idiot.
Samuel, sorry, it's yours this week. Right, we are finished. I'm just going to mention a few shows next week. I don't even know if we're going to have a show next week. There's absolutely frig all on, but there's a few different bits and pieces. I'll mention them, and I'm not expecting anyone to talk about them. This Robbie Davis Jr. seems to be getting a bit of traction. He's a Richard Poxon fighter. He's going up against Zoltan Szabo in the Guildhall, which actually appears to be on ITV4. I didn't even realise, according to BoxRec. So I might tune into that one next Saturday evening. Jack Arnfield's also in against Mick Hall for some WBA trinket. So at least we've got some boxing on the telly next weekend anyway. Over in France, Cedric Vitou defends his European title against Isaac Riel. the real deal. There's a few other European title fights on that show as well. Over in Denmark, Andy, one for you. Patrick Nielsen's fighting against Baby Berakal, and Dinah Thorslund is defending some title against another lady.
I'll try and watch that. That female seems to be kind of like the big fighter coming out of Denmark at the minute, and that Abdul Khattab, that's the young laddie who he's actually Palestinian. He grew up in Denmark. I think he was actually born in Palestine, but we're interested to see how he's getting on, because he did have stamina issues, and one fight I forget who he lost to again, but he gasped badly. So I think he's been sparring Kessler as well for his fight. So we'll see how he goes on.
And finally, over in the Bally's Event Centre on Friday night, Showtime are picking this up. I think it may be Showbox or one of those fringe shows they do. A few undefeated fighters: Adam Lopez, 16-0, Ronald Ellis, who I've heard of, 13-0, and a few guys who are undefeated in 10 and 15, etc. on that. That's one for the prospects, really.
Is that in Vegas?
Finish up. Is there anything?
Is that in Vegas, the Bally's card? Is that the Bally's in Vegas?
No, Atlantic City.
Atlantic City, mate. All right.
Are you going to that, Tommy? Yeah.
I don't know yet, mate. I'll need to wait and see. I've got a trip booked for next week. Yeah. You looking forward to that, mate? When are you heading out?
On Thursday. Are you going to Santa Cruz?
Me? Am I going to front of Santa Cruz? Apparently I'm going, aye. But a lot of people didn't think I'm going to turn up, eh? Aye, I'm going. I'm there.
You'll turn up, Tommy.
I'll be there. I'm not missing this shit, it's no danger.
Anything else anyone wants to add before we finish?
No.
El City. Twitter last week was fucking funny.
Samuel, L for you.
All of Mexico's taking an L right now.
Aye, as I say, it's 164.5 New Mexican radio station for faggots.
Final word to you, Smido.
Rug.
Yep.
All right.
Rug.
I think this is let's finish it up. Adam Smith there at the end of the podcast with the final word. Hey to Dave Loback, Andy Patterson, Kurt Ward.
A bit of advice for all you bettors out there. Remember, if you really want a guarantee win, remember, bet on the opponent, the guy he's fighting, and the draw. You cannot go wrong.
It's a foolproof plan. It works.
The beach ball himself, Tommy Allen, was on the call as well, and Low Place jumped on as well with us. We'll speak to you next week, guys. Maybe. I don't know what the hell we're going to talk about, but I imagine
preview show, man. Preview show.
Cheers, guys. Catch you later.